Hey everybody, welcome back to the best night of the week, the Flexin Texan Triple Option Clinic here on a Wednesday night. And want to introduce myself. My name is James Piker. I'm the offensive coordinator, offensive line coach at Alvin High School in Alvin, Texas. And this is the third night, third installment of the second annual Flexin Texan Triple Option Clinic. And thank you all for joining us. Seeing a bunch of people continue to kind of file in right now, up to 39. And I just want to go ahead and get this started. I promised Coach Gage and Coach Dieterich and Coach Rulo today that I was going to be a little less chatty than I was last week. Me and Zito go way back, so I had a lot of either trash to talk or things to poke at his theories and ideas. So a lot to say to him, but tonight truly is about Coach Rulo and Coach Dieterich, two of the best in the business, and looking forward to hearing what they have to say. So I'll be quick. I'll mute camera and mic and let them take it here in a second. Just a few things we want to talk to you all about. Again, going into our third week, super excited. We've had more than 275 signed up and registered for the clinic. We've had 39 states, 3 foreign countries, including Canada, Belgium, and Australia. 5 colleges in attendance, including college coaches. And I know we had a college quarterback signed up, registered for these as well. So welcome to those fellows. And then the first week we had about 105 for our first clinic. Last week we had about 75, and we're trying to get to that number again this week. If you're on here and you know somebody's missing, or you know somebody that was really excited to jump on that maybe forgot or got hung up doing something else, and you want to shoot them a text or shoot them a message, kind of remind them to hop on. We'll be on here like the last 2 weeks, at least a couple hours. Tell them to jump on and get what they can. So, Coach Gage, are you here? He was earlier, but I guess he popped out for a second. Coach Gage, our head coach, he'll be in and
I'm
out.
here.
There we go. There's Coach Gage.
Yeah, no, I'm here. Sorry, I had my phone sitting on the counter listening to you babble on like you said you weren't going to.
Well, I'm just I have the gift of gab. What can I say? And it's only been 2 minutes, whatever. So, but
No, man, I appreciate you guys jumping on again with us tonight. Heard Coach Rulo speak last year at our clinic, and man, he's going to be a treat to listen to. And I know Coach Dietrich, we missed out on you last year, so really looking forward to hearing your insight tonight and everything that you bring to this offense and to this community. So again, appreciate you guys. If there's ever anything that we can do to help you guys out, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, whether it's film, advice, jobs, whatever we can do to help each other out. That's what we're here for, and really looking forward to continuing to grow this community. So again, let's have a good night, and let's learn some more ball.
absolutely. I think we've had a first couple really good nights to start this thing off, and I think tonight's going to really take over the top. So a couple things, I've let y'all know the last couple weeks. I'm still learning. I'm sure plenty of y'all have been in all kinds of Zoom chats and clinics and things like that, especially from the COVID days. Still learning. I joked with Coach Dietrich and Coach Rulo last night that some of y'all got probably 12, 24 different invites to the clinic last week. So kind of still working out the kinks, still learning how to be as efficient as possible. So if y'all have any advice or any suggestions or anything like that, you're not stepping on any toes. You're not offending me. I'm just trying to get better. So whether you want to put it in the chat, shoot me an email, hit me up on Twitter, just kind of let me know. Piker, you talk too much, something like that. Feel free to reach out and definitely try to improve this as much as possible. With that being said, try to hit these next couple of bullet points real quick. We will be. I've gotten several questions about if we'll be posting the videos online later on. We are been kind of in talks or discussions with different people about where we're going to post them, and But one of the consensus, or our consensus has been that we're going to post them and they're going to be free. We're not going to charge this year. We don't have any overhead because it's a virtual clinic. And really the whole point of this was to share ideas, get the information out there. And one of the great things about this community, I think, I can't remember exactly who said it this week, but somebody tweeted out that air raid coaches, they charge $100 a session, to get air raid certified and all that. And us Flexbone, wing tee, slot tee, us under center, old school, grimy guys, we just give it out for free. So that's truly what we wanted to do with this clinic. And, it really is an opportunity for all of us to pick each other's brains and continue to improve and, fight the dark side. So next up, I just personally want to thank Coach Rulo and Coach Dieterich for being here tonight. Coach Rulo, like Coach Gage said, spoke at our clinic last year. And I can't tell Coach Rulo enough and want to let you all know, Coach Rulo was one of the very first people to kind of sign on and volunteer to speak at our clinic last year. First year, kind of figuring things out. And he came all the way from Missouri and did a heck of a job. That he believed in what we were trying to do and had a great presentation. I learned a lot of stuff I still talk about and apply to what we do on our offense today. But I really appreciate him for kind of taking that leap of faith. I know it's not Glazier, or it wasn't Glazier, but he took that leap of faith and really made it a special deal last year and allowed us to do what we're doing this year. So, and then Coach Dieterich, we go decently far back, both Baton Rouge boys and Coach Dieterich helped me out at a time where kind of in between jobs and reached out to me, asked me to come to one of his Flexbone clinics there at Parkview Baptist in Baton Rouge, and really kind of made me feel part of the Flexbone community at a time where I wasn't quite sure I wanted to even coach anymore. So real personal thank yous to Coach Dieterich and Coach Rulo tonight. Their talks tonight mean the world to me, and I hope they do to y'all as well. So and then finally, last couple of things. If you would, please keep your mics on mute tonight. I know we had a little stray audio last week. Some things got popped in there. So try to keep everything on mute. And if you notice somebody that maybe needs to be muted, again, hit me up and I'll go swing the big stick and mute them from my computer. But please keep them on mute. If you have a question and you feel confident enough to unmute and jump in, by all means, please do so, but do so respectfully. And then, but if you do have a question, probably the best way to go about it is to open the chat function on your window and just write your question in the chat. And Coach Dieterich and Coach Rulo have enough experience doing these things that they'll see it and they'll address it as they get to either the proper time or a stopping point in what they're trying to say. So appreciate y'all for doing that. One thing I want to let everybody know, try to remind y'all at the end of the clinic tonight, we will not have the clinic next week. Next Wednesday, for those of you that don't know, forgot, or chose to selectively forget it, next Wednesday is Valentine's Day. So, we're going to go and take that Wednesday off. That was Coach Gage's idea. And I've been at home taking credit for it to earn the brownie points as much as possible. But next Wednesday, y'all, take the ladies out, dinner, chocolate strawberries, whatever, but no triple option next Wednesday. So we'll pick it back up the week after that. And then finally, shameless plug, week number 3, we're going to have 2 or 3 spots open on the opposite side of the ball at Alvin. And the positions technically are running backs, wide receivers, and even quarterbacks, fullbacks. But we're real flexible. We just want to get a lot of great guys that are knowledgeable about the Flexbone, excited about the Flexbone, that are hungry to come in and really try to help us make something special here at Alvin. So we've got those 2 or 3 spots. If you're interested, if you know somebody that you think might be interested, if you might even the tiniest bit be interested to come coach at the highest level of high school football in Texas, aka the country. Sorry, guys from out of state, but if you want to come see what it's all about, by all means, please reach out and let's go from there. So without further ado, we'll talk more about that at the end of the clinic. But first up tonight is Coach Rulo, sporting the mustache and the beard. I told him last night that he needed to keep it. I was going to keep mine, that he needed to keep it. So it's a little different look from his presentation last year, but I like it. I like it. You keep evolving. You keep evolving. That's good. So, but again, I'm going to shut the hell up. I'm going to mute my mic and camera. It's all Coach Rulo, and then we'll transition to Coach Dieterich, and then we'll call it a night. So thank you, Coach Rulo. It's all yours.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Excited for this opportunity to present to you guys. Again, it's always such a humbling opportunity, and when Coach Parker, Coach Gage talked to me about this, even last year, I just was honored that they would let me come down and share some ideas from a coach from Missouri. So definitely to the state of Texas. And again, being blown away with their facilities. And even when we showed film, they wondered why our hashes were so wide. So it was just a funny experience all around being able to go and present in Texas. But again, I'm grateful for your guys' willingness to just come and listen to everything that we're going to try to talk about today. Biggest thing that I would love to, I guess, discuss with you more than anything is just it's something probably a little different, and hopefully, I don't know if it'll get the exact same response in some ways, because I'm not going to talk, a lot of X's and O's, not going to spend a lot of time talking through plays. If guys have questions on those things or want to ask, that's totally fine. But just trying to allow some opportunities to talk through a little more what I would call culture things. I've had the amazing opportunity of installing the Flexbone at 4 different schools, all different sizes, from big to little, private to public, country to city. And with that experience, I've learned a lot of, if anything, what not to do. And so just when thinking through kind of what I wanted to talk about is just how do you, in today's current society, try to go about implementing and installing a kind of a run-based Flexbone offense, under center offense that is very countercultural. And so that's what we're going to go with today, and excited that, man, hopefully I'll be able to share a few things and give you a few nuggets. But as if any talk that I ever give, guys, please feel free to ask questions, to let me know if you got anything. It's been a while since I've done a Zoom call, but man, hopefully it'll all work well. But my number one goal, guys, is that you can at least take away one thing that you can try, whether it's a phrase, a saying, an idea, something that you can implement as you are just trying to continue impacting the culture of your school, specifically through the offense that we all love and care deeply about, and that being the Flexbone. So I think, when I talk about goals of a presentation, biggest thing, I think we need to just talk about the elephant in the room, right? The benefits and challenges of Flexbone. I think there's so many benefits, but I think we have to be honest and understand that there are just challenges when you're trying to install it. It definitely looks different, and that's one of the things we love about it. But because of that, it also creates some concerns because people aren't used to seeing it, right? It's not what they see on Saturdays and Sundays a lot. And so, again, they're just trying to figure out what this whole Flexbone thing is. I think the next thing I really desire, guys, is just help figure out how to create a culture that supports the Flexbone as we kind of look through some of those challenges. Third, I'm just really provide you some very practical, hey, here's some strategies for getting buy-in. Whether that's buy-in from your players, whether that's buy-in from your own coaches, whether that's buy-in from the community, the administration, whatever the case may be. And then finally, just really trying to help the overall selling point, which a lot of you already get it, but understand why a culture that supports the Flexbone is going to breed future success. And what does that really look like? So again, excited for this opportunity to share with you guys. So as we look at it, guys, I think there's just a ginormous coaching dilemma that we all face. And I really encourage when I talk to guys about culture to kind of understand what their why is, right? If you're a big Simon Sinek guy, and knowing your why, what is your why? Why did you get into coaching? Some of you got into coaching maybe just to win games. Some of you got into coaching for other reasons, right? Man, just to impact kids, to give back, you were impacted by a coach, whatever the case may be. But I always encourage in the offseason to really kind of circle back to what your why is. What we've realized over the years and what the big dilemma is in coaching is that winning games is important. Whether or not it's what you want to be about, whether or not it's the baseline and the plumb line of success in your program, you and I all know that we've got to win games. And guys, for some of us, if we don't win enough games, we're not going to be hired next year. And I know that's a crazy idea to think in the high school sports setting, but it happens. And guys, it's happened to me. I mean, I want to be very transparent. Guys, I've installed a Flexbone. I thought, well, I thought lots of games with the Flexbone, and there were schools that still did not think that it was enough. And so that is kind of this big thing. How do we win games? We realize most of the time, right, that if we have better athletes, we equal more wins. We know that. That's pretty simple. And a lot of times I feel like as a coach, I have to just get out of the way, right? If my athletes are better than the other team that I'm playing. We also know, and I think why we love the Flexbone is we have to figure out what are we going to do when the opponent is equal or better. And I think from the beginning of time as coaches, especially in the game of football, right, they've been always trying to find this magic bullet. What is going to allow us to win more games if especially our athletes are not as good or just as good as the other team? First thing we always go to is X's and O's, right? That's why whatever clinic you go to, man, the X's and O's sessions are completely full, right? They're trying to find the newest thing, the newest defense, the newest offense, the newest gadget, the play, how to do something, how to teach something. And I think that's why we love the Flexbone, man, because it provides us an advantage, specifically when in the run game, because we don't block as many people. Maybe the magic bullet, maybe it's in technique, right? Again, you're going to a clinic, you're trying to learn the technique. Guys, I remember in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, maybe it was the weight room, right? That was that magic bullet, right? In the weight room, what could you do, right? Being in from the Midwest, right? A lot of Nebraska Husker power stuff, right? BFS, maybe whatever it is for you in the weight room, then maybe that's the magic bullet and how you can get an advantage. I think, especially when we talk about the Flexbone, there's a culture that can be developed that really can be a magic bullet that can create the buy-in that hopefully is necessary that allows you to go and be successful, to get people to kind of believe. I've noticed over the years, the more players can believe in what the coach is doing, the product that they are selling, and they can buy in and believe in that, man, that power of persuasion, that power of belief is so high that I really believe it can be that thing that can get you over the hump. Now, I'm not going to promise you it's going to win every game. I'm not going to promise you that, again, you're never going to have to face any adversity or answer hard questions. But I really believe if you can figure out that culture thing and really get people to understand what you're doing offensively and create a culture around it, man, there can be a lot of great success in the future. So, for me, my own personal journey, why I chose the Flexbone. I was not a Flexbone guy at first. Guys, started off being a spread guy, oddly enough. I mean, that was my background as a coach. We were a spread team because we were trying to figure out what to do to try to take advantage. Again, I'm really close to the University of Missouri. University of Missouri has had good luck with the spread and with college-based offenses and throwing the ball around. And so that's been a lot of fun as haven't been very far from that school. But ultimately, when I was an assistant, right, whether it was we started out the I formation, but then moved to the spread and started throwing the ball. With that, though, I quickly realized as I became a head coach that when we were spread, teams would typically man us up, typically press man. They would honestly bring a ton of guys up into the box. And from there, they would just go and blitz the house. And if we had no kind of running game or we couldn't figure out how to get the ball off in time, we really couldn't pass block it long enough and we weren't very successful. So at that time, we just started, again, this is pre-huddle, this is pre-everything, just started looking at service academies, right? What were service academies? What were schools at the collegiate level doing that had some kind of talent disadvantage? And they were the first ones, right? Whether it was on, Navy, Paul Johnson, Army, again, then, at Georgia Tech, what were these places doing that were having success? For us, we realized we thought this was the best potential for successful undersized players. A lot of the schools that I've been at, especially the smaller schools, have been small up front. We just did not have the linemen that could sit there and pass set long enough, or the type of players that could go and just be dynamic on offense in space. And so we had to figure out how to do the best we could with the undersized players we had. I also felt as we just watched year in, year out success, especially the service academies, that you have consistent success because we didn't need that one quarterback, right? That one gunslinger that could do so much, that we could basically adapt the Flexbone or adapt this offense, this option-based offense based on kind of what we had coming in. But again, we didn't have to have these huge dips, right, based on talent and how we were doing. And that consistency was just so key. Now, I mean, guys, I've been running the Flexbone for over 15 years. I love it. I don't know anything else. One of the schools I coached that I'll never forget, they asked me why I didn't want to run the spread. And I told them, I was very honest. I said, guys, they had been very successful running the spread, but they could never win a state championship. And I told them very honestly, I said, I believe that running the Flexbone is what I know, and I feel like I know fairly well. And they weren't able to win with the spread. Well, let's try something different, right? Let's try something that we know that people don't know a lot about. And then we can try this and be successful. And gosh, guys, praise the Lord, I've been experiencing success, and not because of my talent as a coach, but because of the talent of the players that I coach. And again, the reasons I love the Flexbone now goes beyond X's and O's. It does. There's so much more to it that I feel like the offense teaches. And some of these things, it's the team first, man. I don't know about you guys. A lot of times we joke that coaches were the tryhards, right? We were the guys that maybe weren't as talented, right? We were the guys who tried to show up to every workout and do the little things that coaches asked. But all the things that I loved about football, I felt were wrapped up in the Flexbone. I felt were wrapped up so well. And again, this idea that team first, bigger than self mentality. All right. The things that I love teaching my players, man, to learn to practice selflessness. Right. We're going to put other people first. I just think it's so cool that you can teach that so well on the Flexbone. I think for me, and again, if you know anything about me, man, I am such a big believer in character and servant leadership development. I think we have to understand and acknowledge that as coaches, we have an opportunity, and I would say an obligation, to teach character and servant leadership. It is not taught in the classroom. It's not. And we've got to figure out ways to use the tool of football. And I would say the Flexbone has an awesome opportunity with it to teach those things. I also would say over the years, man, the fraternity of Flexbone coaches is amazing. From the different guys that I've met literally across the state, and even outside of the United States now has been outstanding. People who seem to have like-mindedness, not only about the offense and the X's and O's, but about the style of football and the things that we can teach from football. And these are the reasons why I love the Flexbone. I think it's important. And my point to you would be, as you're sitting there, you need to think, why do you love the Flexbone? What is it about the Flexbone that you love, right? Man, that you think, this is why I want to run this offense, right? You have to realize that it probably needs to go beyond, right? Hey, we're just not very good up front, right? Most people don't like hearing that their kids aren't very good up front, right? Or they're not very big. You have to have another reason, a passion, right, inside of you that, man, this is why I love it. This is the things that we can teach. And that passion has to be exuded through you in how you interact with kids, what you say, man, all those things, so they also can believe and buy into that. So, but again, I think you've got to figure out, and I would encourage you to write it down. Why do you love the Flexbone? What is it about the Flexbone that makes it fun for you, that makes it an easy sell when you're trying to tell other people, this is the offense we want to run at our school? I think we have to admit that there are challenges, though, to a Flexbone-friendly culture. These are 4 of them that come to my mind as I think through it. First, we live in a current me-first mass culture. We know this. We see this, guys. Again, it's been reported that kids take up to more than 14 selfies a day. Literally an hour of their day each day in young people's lives is spent taking pictures of their own face or half of a face. Now, again, and again, Coach mentioned my beard, man, and there's, every day I look, there's more and more gray in my beard. And I do not have Snapchat, Instagram, and those things. I don't. And I have taken a selfie before, but not many. I don't even know if I've taken 14 in my life. But the idea is, it isn't about me, right? It's about the kids that I work with every day and the coaches that I work with, that now I find many of the coaches I work with are getting younger than me. That I've got to figure out how to handle this challenge, because it's there and it's not going away. Man, as much as we like to sit around sometimes as old heads and talking heads and say things like, man, kids nowadays, or back in my day, or kids were soft, or whatever, we just have to acknowledge that that's the culture we live in. And Flexbone is countercultural. And so we have to have responses to that. I think secondly, we have to understand that football itself has become more self-focused. As I don't know about you, but we didn't have huddle highlights when I played. We didn't have max preps when I played. We didn't have those things, but these are things that our kids are constantly being reminded on. And even today, I think National Signing Day, right? This idea that there's so much more attention that football brings out that, again, to me, is a little countercultural. And so we have to acknowledge that and understand that that's a challenge. That's a real issue that we've got, and we've got to figure out how to have answers to combat that. The next, we have to understand, as I mentioned, that it's not a trendy offense. You're not going to see it much on Saturdays and Sundays. And sadly, at the Division I level, we feel like it's being run less and less. And again, we are blessed, praise the Lord, that Harding University, right, has had so much success there in Arkansas. And, their coaching staff has done a phenomenal job being what I would mean proponents and advocates for the Flexbone. But even then, not many people are tuning into Harding games, right? And so understand, because people don't see it, they don't always know. And so we've got to just have them a vision. We'll talk more about it, but I know when I've sent college clips to my players, they like that. They're like, oh, cool, coach. It's cool to see someone else running our offense. Finally, college recruiting. Questions that I've heard over the years. Maybe you've heard something similar. Why does my son not have as good offensive stats as others? Sometimes in the Flexbone, depending on how you run it, depending kind of your style of plays, what your big five is, you don't always know who's going to get the ball. You don't know who the defense is trying to take away. And where in our minds, that seems really like a good thing, right? And that seems really awesome. We have to realize that that means maybe that a certain player is not getting as many touches, right? They're not getting the stats. And I'm not talking just about passing either, because there are times that I've walked away from a game and maybe one of my best A-backs just didn't get any stats that game. And that's hard for them. I know I've had people ask, will it hurt my son's chance of playing college football? You have to have answers ready for this. And I thought it was very interesting because, again, while Harding went on the run, man, people were going on Twitter and talking about how, the dinosaur offenses, the triple option, the Flexbone hurt kids' chance to go play at the next level. And guys, again, we could all sit around here and commiserate on how that's not true, right? But you and I, we can all say it and we can all know it's true, but we have to figure out how to sell that. Right, how to sell that to our players, to our parents of our players that we're working with, because that is a really important part that people are going to want to ask. And so as we look at these challenges, we got to figure out how to combat it. What are we going to do? I think the biggest thing is we have to embrace the current cultural trends. And so when I look at huddle highlights and I talk through huddle highlights, or the huddle highlights that I show my team on a Monday, is, man, I'm looking always at great effort. Right. Great blocks, great effort. Man, we do so many things to acknowledge not only the touchdown run or maybe a touchdown pass or catch, but we're going to use huddle, which is currently there, and it makes things very me focused. But we're going to try to figure out how to use huddle, man, to show them, man, great effort. And I would highly encourage you to do that, right? Whether it be your old line coach figuring out ways to do that, or again, something that we're looking at, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, is, man, this year we're really going to be tracking knockdowns and knockbacks, right? Where the idea is, man, if we're going to get everyone excited on our offense about getting guys' heads to rock back when we block them, right? And figuring out how to reward them. And I know Coach Mao and I were talking about the other day about maybe giving out a Pez dispenser or something. But again, just this idea of what can you do to use, right, the cultural trend of huddle and the self-focus of football, but man, I focus it on the things that you want to see. And to me, great blocks, great effort, great things on offense, a great strain is what we want to look for. Secondly, you got to use social media to your advantage. You have to figure out how to create your own narrative. One of the things I did not understand at one of the schools that I went at, guys, is I thought people would just appreciate that I just loved and cared about their kids. I thought all the parents would just be like, man, Coach Rulo is a nice guy. He cares about our sons, and that's going to be enough. And so I didn't say a lot. I didn't speak into the darkness much. And you have to create your own narrative. If you are not creating your own narrative and you are not using social media, right, to your advantage, I don't care what size of school you are, someone is going to take the silence and make it negative. Someone will take this silence and you not creating your narrative, right, in the way and spinning things the way you want, right, and they're going to turn it into a negative. You have to use social media to your advantage. That social media piece is so big. It truly could be a full-time job. You've got to figure out somebody on your staff, somebody in your community that can literally be posting things out on Facebook, I'm still going to call it Twitter. We're never going to call it X, but Instagram, whatever, as a way, right, to gain that advantage. Because again, if you're not, somebody's going to create a negative narrative. And I think that's just such an important thing. People get so quick to get on social media, but if you can beat them to it, whether it be after a game, during practice, players of the week, highlights, whatever, I think that's huge. And you've got to be willing to do that. I do think you can highlight successful athletes in the triple option. Alejandro Villanueva, Demarius Thomas. There have been guys that have gone on to play. And again, and we'll talk a little bit how you need to have your own people that you've coached that have gone on to play at the next levels. But you've got to have people that have been successful in the triple option that have gone to the next level, especially if you're at school, which I can't imagine being in Texas or some of these places where there is an expectation that people are going to go and play on Sundays. Not just Saturdays, they're going to go play on Sundays. You have to have a way to sell that this is possible, that they can be running this offense, right, and then they can go play not only on Saturdays at big schools, big colleges, big-time Power 5 colleges, but also then in the NFL. Because you have kids that dream those dreams, and you don't want to crush those dreams, right? We don't want to be the ones telling those kids those dreams aren't realistic, but instead show that there is a path that they can do that. So I would ask you, and what are you doing in your current situation to combat the challenges that typically the Flexbone and the triple option faces? Right? Do you have a strategy set up that you are figuring out, hey, this is what we need to do. This is how we're combating this. This is how we're selling it, right? What are we doing for that? And so making sure that you have a way. Because if you're not, I know for myself, if I'm not, I'm worried that something negative is going to come in its place. Something negative is going to be there instead. As we talked about before, communication is super key when we combat these challenges. I think there has to be that communication, and you've got to help people connect the dots. I have found, for the most part, most parents honestly just want their child to have a good time playing football, to have fun, to have good experiences, to be safe, right? And to make a lot of fun memories. If you can help connect the dots on what you're doing in your program and sell that, you're going to get most parents on board, right? You really are. I do think, though, that you can use Flexbone and football, but even especially Flexbone to teach that he can teach skills beyond just the game of football, beyond the X's and O's. I literally tell my players and my parents at every parent meeting that we have to start the season. And guys, we have multiple parent meetings. We'll have one coming up, what we call a football interest meeting, that will literally be at the beginning of April. And in that meeting, we will lay out our entire summer calendar, but I still sell the vision on what we're all about. And I tell them there, just like I tell them in our meeting in July, and I tell them in all of our what we call family dinners during the season, I do not care if your son remembers how to run inside veer when they're 35, 40 years old. Man, it's all the skills beyond. Man, it's working together as a unit, caring for your teammates, learning to do your job on the backside of a play that doesn't seem that important, these kind of things. And these are these soft skills that can help contribute to better husbands, sons, brothers, and workers. And that's what's missing, guys. I was in a meeting this morning. Just so many times at school, they want to focus on teaching reading, writing, arithmetic, right? These subjects. And that's so important, yes. But man, we're forgetting how to teach soft skills with kids, right? The things that really frustrate us, right? The things, right, that get us upset when guys aren't able to do these things or don't know how to do these things, whether it be how to advocate for themselves, how to communicate, how to be respectful, how to pick up after themselves, all these things. These are all soft skills that will help them down the line that we can teach. And we can teach it through football, but in my mind, you can teach it through the Flexbone so well because of just the nature of the servant leadership style, the servant nature of the offense itself. I do believe that you need to have answers ready. Why don't we throw the ball more, right? That is going to be a question, guys, that is asked every time. And I do believe that you need to have answers ready for that. You need to make sure that you have reason to explain. Now, you can be funny and say, hey, yeah, we throw the ball. It more just looks like a lateral pitch, right? But you do need to make sure you have answers ready because there will be people that ask. right? You are going to have parents and players that ask that all the time. I also believe you need to have personal stories of how you can play collegiate football successfully. You need to figure out ways to do that, and have your own kind of catalog of that, and honor those players. And so just to look through some of these pictures that I have on my screen here, down in the bottom left-hand corner, right? So one of the things that at the first school that I was at, we made a deal that players who finished playing 4 years of college football from our school, we would retire their jerseys. I ended up leaving that school, and these two young men were still playing college football. They ended up finishing, and I was blessed because the next coach, who was a believer in what we were doing, he did the same thing. He did that. He retired their jersey. Guys, both of these young men in that picture in the bottom left were all Americans in college. One at a Division III school and one at a Division II school. It was easy, right? And they honored him at halftime of a basketball game and brought these guys in and let them speak on what it meant to be a part of the program at South Callaway. And guys, that's a huge selling point, man. And again, I don't even coach there anymore, but they invited me back. I got to sit and watch. And again, man, how awesome that these two guys who are all Americans, who played in the Flexbone, went on to do great things at their respective colleges at different levels. But they spoke about all the cool things they learned from football, all the cool things they learned from what we did with our offense and our style and our culture that we had developed. And again, those are the things you need to have, those personal stories from your program. Now, if you're new at a school, hopefully you can quickly develop those or lend to what you've done in the past. I think other things we'll talk through, but the picture at the top is a mom's practice. And if you can see, right, that's basically our base ace, our spread formation there. And we teach our moms the Flexbone, right? We teach the most basic things. And it's funny because the moms don't seem to care as much about what offense we run on, but I literally go through with each mom, I explain exactly where their child plays. And I tell them how awesome their child is at that position. Those moms don't seem to care much, right? If why we're not throwing the ball, right? Maybe it's just the dads who ask those questions, right? But those moms have a lot of fun, and then we run a couple plays with them. And so again, you just have to have answers to the hard questions that people are going to ask. But communication is the key, and constantly communication, connecting the dots, helping people see, and having a plan. You just can't just throw it out there and just say, hey, this is what we do, which is fine. I don't deny you can't do that, but to really make it stick, to help people understand, you got to be constantly communicating through it. So as we talked about, we know that there are benefits of running the Flexbone. We know that there are challenges to it. So now just trying to help coaches figure out, how do I create a culture that daily supports this Flexbone? I think the first one is get the right people on the bus. For all my coaches out there, if you're a head coach, you and I know that you've got to, and even a coordinator, you know you got to get the right people on the bus. And this honestly first starts with your own coaches. I've coached at places where I had coaches that did not believe in what we were doing offensively. It was different than what was done before. They were unsure of the offense. I did not do a good enough job teaching it to them. And because of those things, we struggled. Our bus didn't go in the direction it needed to go, right? You've got to figure out how to get the right people on the bus. I think as well, once you talk about your coaching staff, the next thing that you need to do is figure out how to get key stakeholders on the bus. Ones that I would encourage you do, man, your best athletes, you've got to figure out how to make sure they understand what's going on. Guys, I know now that I have, before season, I have meetings with the quarterback. My next quarterback coming into the system. So this year, we knew we were going to start a sophomore at quarterback. I met with his parents and him in the winter. And I explained, this is what we're doing. This is what we're all about. This is what we think your son can do. This is why we want to run this offense. These are the things that we think he can do well in this offense. And so I know the meeting might seem unusual. It might even seem unnecessary, but I've learned I'm never going to not communicate enough, or I'm never going to assume. Assuming has gotten me in trouble. And so meeting with other key athletes and explaining to it and making sure they understand what's going on, I think is super important. Thirdly, again, would be parents. If you have key community members that are parents, or school board members, or booster club parents, that have influence, you might have to be selling. Now, maybe it's not just a Flexbone, maybe it's just who you are and what your vision is for the program, but you need to make sure that you've done, right, a great job figuring out how to get those right people on the bus. Next would be administration, right? You've got to figure out how to get your administration on the bus. Now, someone might not care. Guys, I have worked for some administrators, though, who knew more about football, and you got to make sure that they do not have a negative connotation about the option, right? That maybe they don't think that, well, man, the option, you guys fumble the ball a lot, or, oh, man, the option, somebody's going to get hurt, or, man, you can't win when you're behind, or whatever. And so you got to make sure your administration is on the bus and they understand what that role is. And those are hard meetings. But I've learned I would rather meet than ever assume. Guys, at the end of each season now, I go and I set up meetings with my athletic director, with my building principal, and my superintendent. I set up those meetings. I don't even wait for those meetings they don't even contact me. And I have an agenda that I go through with the AD. And I literally ask him, and what did you like about what we're doing? What do you think we need to do to get better? And then we talk through the assistant coaches and everything. With the principal, similar questions, but more vein of, how are all of my coaches doing in the classroom? Man, are there any concerns? Same with the superintendent. I ask more the administrative side of the teaching and the coaching and everything, and what we're doing then on the field. And I even ask him, are there any landmines? Are there things that I need to be aware of that I need to navigate? And so having these, and again, working ahead is so important. Being proactive instead of reactive. But guys, getting the right people on the bus is so key. Next, educate others. You have to use your opportunities to educate others. I know I've talked to some coaches that, and I've never gone this far. I've done some radio shows and some different things at different places where I would literally talk about the Flexbone and why we ran it. But I even know some coaches I've talked to would literally almost hold like a meeting, right? Once a week, right? I mean, at the local Lions Club or the VFW hall or whatever, where they would bring in people that they would just talk through the game plan and stuff. But whatever it might be for you, you have to figure out how to educate people on it. Now, naturally, you're going to have some people that just don't care, right? The players just don't care. They just want to play football. Parents don't care, et cetera. But there are people who want to know, and giving and not running away from them, but embracing them and trying to figure out how to educate people on the Flexbone, help them out, right? And again, we'll talk through some things that we do specifically with our moms and dads, which I already talked a little bit about the moms. But I would ask you, now, hey, you've gotten the right people on the bus. You're trying to get the right people on the bus. How do you educate people about the Flexbone? How do you help them understand that it is cool, right? That it's fun to run the Flexbone, that it is a great offense. It might not be something you see, but man, there are, right, components of the Flexbone and what you even are going to see this Sunday, right, in the NFL, in the Super Bowl. And so I think just having that education piece is so important. And finally, I wish it wasn't this way. And I'll never forget, guys, I was blessed to play for a Hall of Fame coach when I was in high school. And I remember Coach Hill literally being like a second father to me. And I'll never forget, I was so excited when I told him when I made a decision to become a teacher and I wanted to be a head coach. And I told him I just thought that he was going to be like, oh, Rulo, man, you're going to be a great head coach. And he literally told me, he said, don't be a head coach. I was like, man, what are you talking about, coach? Man, I want to be like you, coach. You've impacted me so much. And he said, Rulo, don't be a head coach. And I said, coach, why? Why do you not want me to be a head coach? And he said, Tim, you will never have the same impact and ability, right, to work with players on a personal level when you become a head coach. And I didn't understand that. I was like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, coach. That's not true. I'll do that. But he's right. Because as a head coach, I have to literally daily sell the vision, the culture, and the offense to all those around me. I don't get to spend as much time. And so head coaches, man, figure out how to sell the vision every day to the stakeholders, to different people, whether it be social media, personal interactions, one-on-one conversations, whatever it might be, but you are daily selling the vision, the culture, and the offense. For my assistant coaches out there, you also are going to be a part of that. And we'll talk more about that, but you also have to help with that. And that is not just something you're going to do in season. It literally can be done in the weight room. It can be done whenever, but you are daily selling that vision and the culture and the offense and what you're all about. You guys, that's a daily thing that needs to happen. So here's some specific strategies, guys. So these are literally some specific things that I think you could do. You could do some of them tomorrow. You could literally do to help, to me, get buy-in for the Flexbone. I think there are different activities that you can sell. And now some of these, I'm not gonna lie, you could do this if you're even spread, but I think it's all about your ability as a salesman to spin it, to spin your story, to spin the narrative on how this works. So one of the things that we do is what we call a tug of war. A lot of times when I'm trying to teach how important everyone doing their job on offense is, I will take my varsity offense and I will put them lined up on one side of the 50-yard line, and I'll take 11 freshmen on the other side of the 50-yard line. I'll lay a tug of war rope down at their feet, and I'll ask all the rest of the players, I'm going to say, who's going to win? Is my 11 varsity starters going to beat these 11 freshmen? And all the guys are like, yeah, coach, man, the varsity starters are going to win. And we let them go, and every time the varsity offensive starters win. And then I'll say, all right, hey, I'll take one of my linemen, and I'll say, hey, you're off. Bobby, you're off. You need to go sit down. I'll say, all right, guys, I've got now 10 offensive starters going, and I've got my 11 freshmen. Who's going to win? Now it gets a little tougher, right? Which group's going to win? And then I let them go. Boom. Now close. I'd say 50-50. Sometimes the starters still win. Sometimes the freshmen win, depending how good your freshmen are. Even after that, if I remove one more, I take away, a running back or a wide receiver, and I have them sit. By then, typically 11 on 9, unless those 9 guys are just beasts, and those 11 freshmen are going to win. And that is a sticky way to say, all right, hey, what did we learn from this? Right? Well, coach, my job matters. Coach, that backside scoop on inside veer matters. That backside touchdown block by that wide receiver matters, right? My job as a play side A-back to know if I'm supposed to load or who I'm blocking in number 3 matters. And so that's a sticky way that you can teach, man, buy into the Flexbone, buy in that your job matters, which is, again, a soft skill that it's important that those things matter when, again, those guys become husbands, when those guys become fathers, coworkers, etc. Right? So all those kind of things. You can do that with pencils. I've done the exact same thing. We use pencils. I'll bring up the strongest guy, and I'll give him a pencil, and I'll break one pencil. I'll say, hey, can you break a pencil? Boom, he can break it. I'll give him 2 pencils. Say, hey, can you break 2 pencils? Boom, he can break it. I'll eventually get to 11 pencils. Say, hey, can you break 11 pencils? Most guys barehanded can't break 11 pencils. And again, same idea. Whatever you can do to make it sticky, that their jobs matter. And again, I'm selling this for offense specifically, that their jobs matter. All 11 guys matter. And there's other things I can do with that I can show. But again, they're just different things to make it sticky. Over the years, I've done a father-son float trip or a dad's barbecue. These are just ways that I take the dads and I work with them. Whether we've done float trips or dad's barbecues. Float trips, we go away. We literally go and we would camp out. Or the dad's barbecues more in-house. We do it here at our facilities. But at these activities, there is a part where I'm literally teaching the Flexbone to these dads. I'm talking to them about this. And again, we're just trying to educate, use these to educate. Now, I'm not going to lie. We also talk to them about why the Flexbone and why football is going to teach their son life skills, right? But we will spend the time talking specifically about the Flexbone and what we're trying to do. I already showed you that Mom's Football 101. We've done a lot of different versions of a mom's practice. The moms love it, right? They have a blast. And again, I will go through and talk a little bit about the Flexbone because and again, we bring in a football official. We do the whole 9 yards with the moms, and they really have a great time. But they love asking questions. And again, not specific to Flexbone, but we let them try on the equipment. We let them do a lot of different things. But the time that is most dear to me is I get up on a giant whiteboard, I draw up our base offense, and I just go around the room and I say, hey, this is where your son plays. He does an amazing job, right, man, being the right guard. This is where your son plays. He's our fullback, man. He is so tough. He's so tough-minded. We love how hard he runs, right? And we just go through each position. Man, those moms love that kind of stuff. They love hearing those positive things and how their child's personality fits so well in the Flexbone. We do, at one of the schools I did, we did a steaks and cigars night. This might be a little different, but this was kind of a BYB event that we did off campus. We bought the steaks. We had dads bringing cigars and some adult beverages. And we just sat around and talked football, right? We talked about the upcoming season. Again, I'm just selling the vision and educating. Typically, I do this for senior dads is a very special night just for them, where we're just talking. And I let them, I mean, I will get on the whiteboard and talk. Sometimes they will get on the whiteboard and and slightly intoxicated will try to tell me why I need to throw the ball more, and that's okay. I have fun with it. But again, man, just trying to use that as a way to educate. I could go for days talking about character and leadership. I'm not going to do that, but in my mind, you need to use the platform, like I said, of football to teach character and leadership. If you don't feel comfortable, there are curriculums out there that you can use. But whatever the case might be, spin it back to how it works in the Flexbone. Man, how it works when, whether, you know, whoever's making some of your calls up front for your offensive line, how that's leadership, how the character, right, of, you know, just doing the little things right, whether that's the technique they need to know, man, when they're veer releasing or they're power veering or whatever, or when they need to step with their inside foot when they're load blocking, how that character, that attention to details makes a difference. How servant leadership is so key in different roles of servant leadership that are happening in the Flexbone. I think you need to follow Flexbone teams on social media. You need to like it. I do try to encourage my players to get on Twitter. I think it's super important that they get on Twitter. And again, I will like and I will DM them plays and clips, right? And again, that goes to the next one. Show clips of the Flexbone teams to players. I think you should. Guys, I will literally record something instead of via text, or I will DM them on Twitter, and I'll literally say, hey, what play is this? Can you name this play in our lingo, right? And I'll even ask, I've said, hey, did this B-back sinker slide, the action key? What kind of block? Was this a load block by the A-back? I'll ask that, right? And again, I'll just send that stuff to those guys. And I mean, I'm not saying I do it on the daily, but I will do that. Even in the off season, if I see something at a clinic, right, and I'll send that to them. Because again, guys, just keep connecting to them, keep connecting and selling the Flexbone. And like I mentioned previously, our players like to know that the thing that they're doing offensively can be successful at the next level. So, man, why wouldn't you show them Harding film? Why wouldn't you talk about colleges that are doing good stuff, right? You know, Carson Newman running, coming to the Flexbone. Why wouldn't you talk through those things, right? That's awesome. I mean, that's what's so amazing. I do believe the Flexbone, we run it because we feel like we have undersized linemen or we're unable to block some of the big dudes that are across from us from the schools. I do think you need to figure out how to honor them and how to make them a big deal. Something I picked up, or one of our O-line coach that coached for me years ago, we give out an Axeman Award. And I know you might not be able to see it, right? But I have a ginormous axe, right? Man, blue handle, it's our school colors, right? Our logo, Fear the Spear. We have players, our lineman who gets, right, the most knockdowns, man, in the previous game gets to carry this out on the field, right? And it's awesome, man. It is great. And then whoever gets the most at the end of the year, we give them an engraved or wooden handle engraved with their name on it, right? The 2023 Axeman of the Year Award. And it's beautiful, man. And we have a local guy here. We buy the axe with the wood handle, and they engrave their name on it and everything, and we give it. And those guys love that, man. It is honoring them. They get helmet stickers for it. They love it. Make it a big deal for them in that style, right? That what we're going to do, man, we're going to be run first, downhill. We want to get bodies on the floor. And that's key. Also, I think you can have your lineman eat first. You know, I know some coaches are big lineman eat first guy, whatever it might be. But how are you going to celebrate those guys? And realistically, even if you're not a Flexbone guy, I think you need to do that. But especially with the nature of what we want to do offensively and what we want our linemen to do, I do think, man, you need to honor, again, those linemen and how you want them to get bodies on the floor. Youth program clinics. One of the things I did a poor job of at one of the schools I was at is I did not go right away and try to install the Flexbone in the junior high and youth levels. I've learned, right? I learned I didn't do that right. I should have done a better job. And so now I take advantage of every opportunity to bring youth coaches, whether we're talking junior high or even lower, man, up to around our program, whether that be on Friday nights, whether that be talking to players, inviting players to our games, etc. But you've got to figure out how to connect and educate not only the players, but the coaches on what you are trying to do as an offense, what you're trying to do as a program, just in general, what are you all about? But guys, it is pretty cool when I've gotten the youth coaches on board and they're like, oh yeah, we see that that's midline. We see that that's rocket. We see that that's zone dive. And they get to see that. And then again, we bring our youth runner program. You can do youth appreciation nights, different things. Depending on your school setup, we even would bring a different team each week to our home game. And we let them be in the locker room, down on the sidelines during pregame, all kinds of stuff. And so there's a lot of things you can do, but in any way you can connect and again, be selling, right? Educating and just creating a long-term vision of why this offense, why it's our offense, why the Flexbone will be successful, and then they can run it. And as I mentioned before, I think you need to have parent meetings. I mentioned the individual ones I've had with quarterbacks. I've had it with other positions as well. I think B-backs are one that you might need to have it with, even wide receivers, if you've got one that you need to have with. But finally, even the team. And like I said, guys, and maybe I'm too much. Maybe I meet too much. I don't know. But the idea is that we have a meeting, again, what we call football interest meeting in April or late March or April, right? That is literally to give them the entire rest of the calendar. We give them one in July, and then we have family dinners in season once a month. Now, you need to figure out what works for your program, but we have team meals on Thursdays. But once a month, we have what we call a family meal where it's brought in, right? Where guys are, you're bringing in your own food of some type, like a potluck. And from there, we literally sell the vision. Hey, this is how our junior varsity or C team or freshman team's doing. This is how the varsity's doing. We're so excited about how these guys are progressing, growing, getting better, and having those meetings and just continue to sell the vision of, man, our offense has gotten so much better. We've improved so much. These are the kind of things that in my mind, you got to be selling in the meetings. Because a lot of times they just don't know, guys. The parents just don't know. They're not sure, right? And so you got to help sell that meeting to them. All right. Finally, last thing, how the Flexbone culture breeds success. What are the principles need to be successful in the Flexbone, right? These are characteristics that I've heard coaches say over and over and over again, right? And we want selfless players. We want disciplined players. We want accountability, right? We want guys who are attention to detail. We want hard work. We want high character and leadership. Guys, here's the trick. Those characteristics that we would love all of our players. If you look just at those, right, 6 bullet points, man, there's not a guy in this room right now in this chat that wouldn't want those guys. And you want all your players to have that. But what you have to realize is these characteristics are what is needed to be successful in life, right? And that's the true selling point. Because again, how are you going to define success? And I'm going to circle all the way back. What was your why? Is it really just about winning football games? I'm sure that's a part of it. I doubt that's it for everyone. But man, if all of our players walk up on our program with these things, and we know these things, guys, man, then we're going to feel like we've done a successful job as a coach. And guys, these characteristics, it's what it takes in life. And again, you need to prove that. And guys, like I said, man, there's that jersey ceremony where we honor those 2 All-Americans. Guys, in that picture, right, those are guys that were on those teams that I was coaching or coaching me on those teams. Now, all those guys have been super successful. Man, they're either head coaches, right? One of these guys now, and this guy's a former player of mine. He's now a principal. It's just huge. Like they're going to go and be successful because they learn these things, because you taught them these things, right? And so again, as you figure out your why, you figure out what you want and how you want to define success, man, you and I know that you can help connect the dots for your players and your community to say, these are the things we're going to teach by running this offense. And these are the characteristics that are going to be in life, and then keep showing them examples of that. And that's what it takes. And guys, that's how this can not only does the Flexbone cause you to have game day success, but allows you to have success in the future as well. Something that can make your community proud. I think the last thing is, man, to figure this out, and this is just a picture, guys, from the school I'm at now. This is their first homecoming win in school history. I've talked about the school I've been at before, I'm currently at now, but football is brand new to them. So it is all a new learning process for them. And so they feel super successful. But now some of these young men are already going on now play college. Now they're going to do that. But please hear me. And to become embedded in individuals. So we want to take these characteristics and embed them in the individuals, embed them in the team. These are the 6 things. And so these would be what I would want the assistant coaches in this chat to do, right? The OCs in this room to do, right? The head coaches to do. There has to become a common language for the staff and players of why we're running the Flexbone and what it's all about, right? It has to be emphasized in all situations, right? These characteristics, these things that we mentioned here, right, or your core values or whatever you're about, it has to become this common language. It has to be emphasized in all the situations. It needs to be repeated and repeated and repeated. Guys, what I tell my coaches, my assistant coaches, is they need to be an echo chamber of what I'm saying, right? When I'm talking to the team and I say something, I talk about the core value that we're going to talk about, man, it needs to be an echo chamber. It might sound slightly different. The tone and pitch might be slightly different, but the message is the same. And when we're talking about the Flexbone, man, it's got to be the same. That this offense is going to allow us to be successful not only on Friday night, this offense is going to teach us how to be successful in life. And guys, and I would tell you, and I just listened to Matt Rulo speak. Huddle put something out, and I just was listening to it. And guys, he had a phrase that he wants the core values or the standards or what they're all about. He called it learn it, live it, defend it. And I like that. But man, I hope with the Flexbone, people learn it, they live it, and they love it. They fall in love with it. And guys, I was so jealous when I saw Cary Grove, Coach Seberg, they had some shirts made right after the win of the state championship again over East St. Louis, which is phenomenal. And they made these shirts on it that talked about these drives and how long they had the ball. Because you can see that community now loves it. They love it. It's become a part of who they are. So not only do you want to learn Flexbone, you want it to become something they live out, that all these skills that we continue, these characteristics can be lived out. But man, now we want them to love it, to literally just crave it, right? And I think we know schools, right? I think about like the Mishawaka community, man, in Indiana. Again, we mentioned Cary Grove. You can see it at Harding. They just love it, right? They love it. And that's what we desire. But guys, that has to be, again, emphasized. Like number 2 says in all situations, it has to be repeated and repeated and repeated over and over again, not just by the head coach, not just by the OC, but by the entire staff, right? Even the defensive staff, in my mind, right? If you split your staff or right, you're 2 platooned or whatever, and you got to be held accountable to it then. And you, whatever these characteristics, these values that you're about, that you're trying to teach through the Flexbone, kids got to be held accountable to it. As I've said over and over again, you got to connect to what is seen and experienced in the practicing games. So that's got to be highlighted. You got to be able to spotlight that and go crazy for it. Right. I had one coach that I worked with, and he got so excited when players did great things. And that was awesome, man. And I loved it because you could hear him just go screaming and yelling. And you knew he wasn't doing it because he was mad at a player. He was doing it because he was so excited because he saw the characteristics that he wanted, whether it was a backside scoop or a great base block or, man, a knockback or a pancake or whatever. And he was getting excited. And, man, when you do that, kids get stoked about that. And if there was one little thing I would tell you is, guys, what are you doing on a daily basis to have what I would call, man, those mission moments or those impactful moments with players? I'm not just talking about a hi, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, what are you doing that they're going to remember? Hey, coach talked about me. Coach challenged me in this. I got better. Coach celebrated me. And my wife reminds me all the time, I got to do a better job celebrating kids. Too many times, again, I'm a head coach. I'm too busy. I'm just rolling through my day, checking my to-do list boxes. But I've got to figure out how to celebrate kids and get them excited. They're growing, learning, living it, and hopefully falling in love with it. And then finally, as I showed you, keep connecting all the things that they're learning to show them how they're going to be successful later. Man, how are they going to be successful later? And if you can figure out how to do that, if you can figure out how to keep connecting that, guys, I promise, and you can change the culture. You can embed a culture that you're going to be super proud of, that is going to be supportive of the Flexbone. And finally, it's going to be successful. I do believe it'll help you be successful on Friday night. But even more so, I believe it'll help you create young men and women maybe that you coach to be successful in life. And that's what we're all about anyway, right? That's what we want to be about, and that's what we're excited for. So, guys, man, I thank you for the opportunity to share. I realize there were no X's and O's talked about really today. But, man, I'm just so honored that, Coach Pike or Coach Gage will ask me to do this. Guys, man, I'm always here to help. If you ever need anything, I'm an open book. I'll share anything with you. But again, guys, I just so appreciate this opportunity. My contact information is there. But guys, I hope you hear me on this and go make a difference. Guys, please go make a difference in your players' lives beyond football, beyond the inside veer, beyond that. We love those things, but man, make a difference in your kids' lives tomorrow. Man, make a difference, man. There's just so many things our guys are dealing with, and just go make a difference, make an impact. Use Flexbone and the cool things that we love about the Flexbone to go impact kids' lives beyond Friday night, and you guys are going to be super successful. So I thank you guys.
Thank you, Coach Rulo.
Coach. Go ahead, Coach Baker.
Oh, Coach, you had something to say? You go first. You're the boss man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Coach Rulo, man, appreciate you coming on and talking culture. And I can't believe you'd have parents up there telling you to throw the ball more because last year at our option clinic you talked about find the open grass and throw it to them there. So you do tremendous stuff, man. And whether you're talking football or culture stuff, there's it's pretty evident to why you're successful. So I really appreciate your insight tonight. And man, I got a lot of good stuff out of that. So I appreciate you coming on and helping us out.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach Rulo, I made the little comment like right when you first started talking in the chat about you being humble. You play the old shucksy role sometimes, but everything you say it's not just the stuff you say, but the way you say it that really hits home in a lot of ways. I think some of us, I'm texting to Coach Gage during your presentation, and there's stuff in there that we've done some of the same stuff or said some of the same stuff, but the way you present it and the reasoning behind it is phenomenal and really, really hits home every time you talk. So can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on tonight and speaking. And I think your talk tonight is kind of a microcosm of the cool things we're doing in this clinic, whether it's talking defense, whether it's talking X's and O's, or talking culture, and I know you've been places, you started schools, you started programs, and you've been there, you've been in the trenches, you've done it and experienced it, and your words tonight are worth gold. So I really do appreciate it. So thank you, Coach Rulo. If anybody has any questions for him, like you said, his contact information is up there, or if you want to pop another question in the chat right there. But thank you again, Coach. Really, really can't tell you how much we appreciate it. So
No problem. Thank you so much, guys.
Without further ado, like I said, I'm not going to talk too much. I always talk a little bit too much, but not talk too much. Going to make the transition to Coach Dieterich. Again, kind of mentioned it when we started, kind of as he transitions the share screen over. Coach Dieterich and I are both Baton Rouge boys from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Got the opportunity to meet Coach Dieterich, kind of early midway point of my career, and even had the opportunity to coach against Coach Dieterich. In fact, he kind of previewed some of his presentation last night with us, and you'll see a few clips of a team in black and gold on the Superdome floor, and that offensive line, that defensive line that he's just making run around circles or tricking. That was my defensive line. I was coaching defensive line that game that year. But Coach Dieterich, I do have to say, one of the biggest points of pride in my coaching career is having played y'all twice that year. We only gave up one rushing touchdown to y'all. So, but I tell you, Reggie, when he reared back, he was putting that ball on a dot, and so we did not expect that coming out. But for those of you, everyone knows Coach Dieterich, I'm sure. But the moment I knew Coach Dietrich's knowledge of the game, whether it's Flexbone, whether it's just offensive football, it was that 2013 state championship game. We played them earlier in the season. They were in our district, and so we played them. Triple option. I learned the triple option from a guy named Bob Howell in Louisiana. Coach Dieterich knows Bob, and so he kind of taken me under his wing, taught me everything he knew. So I went to UHI. I went to that black and gold school. We weren't nearly as good back then as they are now. But I went there, so I had the opportunity to go back to my high school and coach a little defensive line, and had the opportunity to coach twice against Coach Dieterich. The first time around, I was so excited. I was a young coach. I was like, oh, I know the triple option. I'm gonna single-handedly stop this guy, and try to tell them everything I knew. I was running quarterback, scout team quarterback in practice, and thinking I knew the steps. I was just wowing everybody, and I was the new secret weapon. Well, they come out the first game, and then they were always battles. First game's a battle. We were lucky enough to come up on top, but I think fortunate enough to see y'all again in the state championship game that year. And Coach Dieterich, still to this day, your game plan that y'all executed in that game is, to me, still one of the best and coolest game plans I've ever seen in my career. Like the stuff you did it wasn't necessarily false keys and stuff, but y'all were doing the rocket toss. Y'all were tossing it to the right when the line was going to the left, and y'all were using a lot of I thought what we did well at the time, squeezing and things like that. You used it against us, and it was a really, really good game plan. So for everybody in attendance, that's the moment. I didn't know Coach Dieterich at the time. I knew of him, but that was kind of the moment. Excuse me if Coach Dietrich's going to say this is a hyperbole, but that's the moment I knew kind of his genius when it comes to the
God,
triple option
killing
and
it.
offense. So I was blown away that game, but luckily we were able to come up on top, So, but Coach Dietrich's got plenty of rings of his own. So, but without further ado, I'm going to shut up, like I said, and Coach Dietrich, so glad you could make it this year. So glad, and we've been waiting for this for a calendar year now. So excited to see it. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to put in the chat. And if you want to talk a little trash about that black and gold team on the Saints Superdome floor, feel free. I can take it. So, but Coach Dietrich, it's all yours. Take it away, Coach.
Coach, I appreciate it. Can you see my screen, my PowerPoint?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Guys, I'm just going to talk, and a lot of stuff's going to come out. And first of all, I just want to compliment Tim. What he talked on is about as clutch as it could be when it comes to this offense in this day and time, because plays are nice, schemes are nice, and man, we all get into that. But without the culture and to me, the proactive culture that this offense demands these days, I don't know that the plays really matter all that much. So Tim nailed it, no doubt about it. I think everything he talked about is 100% true. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that, because several of the things I'll talk about probably touch on that, especially early on. But first of all, thanks to Coach Piker, Coach Gage, and Alvin Football for putting this on 2 years in a row. Coach Piker mentioned a little clinic we used to do at Parkview. Just touching, connecting the dots to put something like this on it goes unnoticed, but I really appreciate him. Couldn't make it over to Houston last year, but there were some guys close to my heart in the Flexbone world that were at that clinic, and so for them to be able to make it virtual this year was really special to me, and I'm really glad to be a part of it. And like Tim said, I just want to give you my A game, whatever that is. And I'm gonna go pretty quick, but try to be thorough. And as I heard at a clinic a long time ago, try to put 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag and go really, really fast to make it worth your time. And thank each one of you for tuning in. This is a Wednesday night in the middle of the week. You got kids, you got school, you got wives and all that stuff. So I know this is demanding, but you're doing the best thing for yourself and your team and your players by just trying to get a little bit better, especially in this offense, because you can't go to clinics and really find this anymore. You either visit Harding, which is fantastic, or Friends, maybe one of the academies, and that's not a definite anymore. But to have a one-stop shopping like this and get all you want in the Flexbone is a tremendous benefit. So thanks to those guys. And anytime guys are getting together to talk Flexbone, I don't care if I'm talking, walking, listening, or just a passerby. I'm intrigued. So we're going to talk rocket toss, but there's some things I want to hit on real quick. And what Coach Piker just touched on about some of the games, very complimentary. I appreciate that. But this statement probably fits some of the things he mentioned over my time in this offense. I've spent really my time in the Flexbone at 3 different schools, and primarily one as far as longevity in Parkview Baptist, and I'm actually there now as an AD. It's just the best fit for me right now. I'm not coaching coaches, and I'm enjoying that side of athletics, but I'm not in day-to-day coaching, and I haven't closed that door all the way, but we'll see what doors God opens for me. But in my time in coaching in the Flexbone, I would say that a lot of what when you're really squeezed, you're facing a good team, a good front, and it year after year, you got a nemesis. I think the greatest inspiration to be innovative usually comes out of desperation, and that's where your best thoughts come from, because if you're competitive at all, you're not just going to sit there and take it. So and that plays into what I want to say about the Flexbone, and it's a lot more flexible than people give it credit for. It has to be, or would not have withstood the test of time like it has, um, over many decades, and different styles within that offense. Just a few acknowledgments and nuggets. The Flexbone Nation guys, and you guys, I consider that the Flexbone. If you're here tonight, I don't care if you're learning the Flexbone, you're still debating it, or you got to defend it, like Coach Zito last week, whatever the case may be. That's this group of guys I can't imagine another offensive system that ties coaches together quite like this one. And so I'm just so appreciative of so many guys. Currently, like I'm gonna mention a few guys I think that are on here: Coach Antonini, Coach Talley, Coach Whitehead, three young coaches on the Gulf Coast, on Mississippi to Alabama, in my neck of the woods. We've gotten together in the last year or so and talked football, and stay in contact. Otherwise, I wouldn't know those guys; they wouldn't know me. But the Telegram chat, things like this. I mean, I've met and got to know guys that have similar philosophies, and I feel like I've known them most of my life, and I may have only met them one time, if at all. So I'm really appreciative of the Flexbone Nation and the connections. Coach Hunkins, a Telegram chat member out in California. I love to see. I kind of live through you guys right now, not coaching actively. What he's done at that program in California, and took him well into the playoffs this year, either finals or semifinals, and just a great run, and seeing the way he's doing it. He sent me some stuff the other day without hesitation. So just really appreciative of this group of coaches. Um, and I'm on a lot of huddle accounts, not for any kind of I guess assistance. I'm not a hired contractor by any means. I love to go in there, and I appreciate being able to watch guys' game films in the Flexbone. Coach Stair and I love to watch their film, and Coach Akers out in Virginia, and several others. And so that keeps me attached to the game, see what's new and what's good. And I'm always trying to plot how would I attack that front that they're seeing. And I'm really appreciative of that. But I want to say this about the Flexbone, and it's so much more flexible to make people give it credit for. And that's what frustrates me. One of the many things when people are critical of it. You can be so different and dare to be different, still be good in this offense. I heard Coach Wheaton say that years ago. Um, there's a lot of ways to be good in the flex ball. Or whatever is your style, whatever you believe in, whatever you can coach, and really at the end of the day, whatever you can fix. I'm probably a mix of many different flex ball styles, as well as some components of other offenses. Um, but along the years in coaching in high school, I've always tried to make it high school friendly, something we could teach the players. We were mostly a, a, um, a one platoon team, so we had to share players on both sides for depth. And we, got kids in other sports. We're always a good baseball school, so you don't have as much time with them as you want. I want to make it something I could always teach them, and do that. But to Tim's point, I think you got to be proactive about the Flexbone these days. There's critics, and you might as well be ready for them. Don't let them surprise you. Um, I guess my aha moment, or oh crap moment, was one year, and back in the 2000s, we were blessed to go 15-0, and we probably should have lost 8 games. I'm not lying to you. We found a way to win half the games that we should have lost. We could have lost, down by 1 or 2 scores late in the game or second half, in the Flexbone offense. We didn't go to the spread or anything else. Now we played to our strengths, our personnel strengths. And about 2 days after winning state, we had a student school board president, a goofy guy, come walking up to me and the head coach, and congratulating, very complimentary. And then he follows up that, "Hey, coach, are we ever going to start throwing the ball more here?" And that just killed every bit of momentum you kind of had in the conversation. So I've become numb to those things over the years, but I still don't like it. And so I had to become very proactive, not to the point that Tim does an amazing job, but with our own players, especially skill guys. I had to explain to them in the offseason and use Demarius Thomas's, or as many skill guys I can, that came up in high school and run oriented offenses and still had level 2 and level 3 success. Um, so I agree 100% with him along that. I think you got to lay the foundation. of your offense, whatever you decide to do, no direction you want to go in. Most people share the same big three, and then after that, it gets a little bit flexible. But leave yourself flexibility to grow and expand. And I don't give myself credit much often, but I will say in that area, I think we did a good job. We had to play the U Highs where Coach Piker was. We had to play good other teams in the state, Notre Dame, St. Charles, year after year, either regular season playoffs, and in many cases both. And they were going to be tuned into your basic stuff. And so I'm not saying we had to change offenses, but we had to grow legs with our basic stuff. So minimize and maximize everything you do. Your practice drills, keep them minimal, but maximize your reps and your intensity and what you get out of it. Minimize your schemes and maximize what you get out of them. Minimize your plays, but maximize the tag. So I think that's critical to do in this offense. I would say, if it characterize myself, any one particular style I lean to, I would say Coach Lee at Eastern New Mexico, and hearing him speak many times, I think I shared some things with him that he came up with a wing T dad, Hall of Fame coach. He threw the ball in college, but then he also had some Air Force wishbone background. That's very similar to me, and so he's very flexible with his variation of the Flexbone. So I probably identify with a lot of things he does a little more than maybe others. I love what Harding does, very rigid and very detailed to everything they do, and I appreciate that as well. I won't read these guys. These are things, to Tim's point, that I think in an offense that's based on execution and unselfishness, you don't want to emphasize statistics because it's just going to create problems. Nothing I did ever with kids on offense talk statistics, because in college I can remember seeing goal boards and thinking we just lost, but we achieved goals. We just won and didn't achieve some goals. So how important were those stats? So over the years, I've developed things that I thought were relative to us winning. I think offensive efficiency, however you gauge that's important. But I had an offensive mission statement, only one goal. We emphasized TNTs, 11 is one. We graded on a system I called FATE. And all those things emphasize on things that we could do, should do, and not stat based. Because if we needed to hold the ball for 35, 36 minutes and literally take 3.5 yards of play to win the game, I didn't care if we ended up with 180 yards offense, as long as we won. And that's still what matters to people, when at the end of the day, are you doing what it takes to give kids the best chance to win? And a funny thing for me, I'm an old ex-quarterback, and I've never seen a kid go on the playground and see a football and get in the stance by it and start blocking or tackling. Most of them go grab it and they want to throw and catch it, right? I mean, that's kind of shooting a basketball, human nature. But I'm an old ex-quarterback, but the only thing I like better than a good passing game is winning. And the passing game and winning don't always line up. At many schools, they don't. But a lot of teams get a pass because they are trying to spread it out, even if they kind of stink at it. Real quick on how we structure our Flexbone, and that will take us into the rocket toss. I categorize my plays one of 5 ways. Core, which is people's big 5. Complements, mostly run. Connectors, I'll talk a little bit about that. What I like to do tonight, guys, is go through rocket pretty thorough, hit on a few rocket complements, just to show you how the motion can kind of trigger some things. Nothing new you haven't ever seen. Maybe just the way we teach rocket may help you a little bit. Connector plays are cool little pet plays of mine, and then crossovers and creatives is how I group our plays in general. I think this is important, and for our purposes, I have 5 core runs, people's big 5. Number 4, isolation is probably different than most guys. That's where zone dive goes for a lot of people. I get that. I just never dove in that world. But the way Harding uses that play is kind of a temperature check play and a lead in to veer and helping to read the quarterback. It'll make you think twice. It's an amazing play. When I first learned Flexbone, zone dive was a different concept. Harding changed that to be more sound. They used to block big on big and count on the backer to run. And then when the backer started hanging in the B gap, killing the B back, B gap, killing the B back, Harding changed on dive to where it's gap sound now. So I had to relearn that concept on them. two core pass protections. I like to say 5 + 2 = 3, because out of those 5 core runs and 2 protections, which are big, again, I believe in the passing game in this offense. I believe in quality more than quantity, but the opportunities to throw the ball are really great in this offense. I say 5 + 2 = 3 because we take those 5 core runs, 2 protections, really, and make them into 3 core scheme families. And I got that concept from Coach Kelly Lee. He talks about scheme families and get maximized or minimized to maximize. And so no matter what we do, even complements, even connectors, creatives, they're going to be tied to this scheme. For me to put in a new scheme, a wholesale scheme, I'd probably have to be knocked out first. But the second thing would be you'd have to convince me, without a doubt, what front they're in when we run this play to do it. And I'd still be hesitant. I'll say this about install. I think in general, if you're in a perfect world in off season, whether it's season 2 or your initial season in Flexbone, I like to get the triple options in first, but I also like to get to the passing game early on. I'm not one of those that likes to get all the run game in and then the passing game, because you live the idea that the passing game is not that important. All right, guys, I will probably miss your question because I think I'm one of those people that when I'm talking, my ears and my eyes don't always work real good. So if I miss a question, Coach Spiker, just interject a fist through the screen and punch me something. But don't hesitate. Like Tim said, don't hesitate to stop me, because otherwise I'll be like a mechanism going through this stuff. Rocket toss, I call it 8 and 9. I love this play. I absolutely love this play. I don't think it can stand alone, but it is a great asset to this offense, in my opinion. So conceptually, it's a get out of jail pass very fast. It's out of the tough box without reading your way out. It's a D to E to P, D gap to E gap to perimeter. Attacks the defense from outside in instead of inside out, like most option football. And really only takes about usually 2.5 blocks to make it go if the timing is good. The timing is critical, guys. If you just have your backs line up and work on a toss play, they're going to probably catch the ball about the B gap, maybe behind the tackle. You've got to really teach this play early on. And I think a lot of things I like to teach backwards to go forward, make them understand how wide this is. But once the play's in place, I think it's a matter of straining and maintaining to keep it installed. I really do. It hits fast like everything in the Flexbone, so the defense can't screw around. They've got to make a commitment to stop Rocket, or you're going to turn the corner on them often. Advantages, like I said, it's easy to install, low maintenance, but I like it because it's a good tempo first down play, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But it also has a strong action to the play, so it sets up well for complementary plays, run or pass. We're full speed when the defense is set. Makes the perimeter defenders really this whole offense makes perimeter defenders tackle, right? But it makes the interior guys run, especially if they want to anchor down and squeeze. I don't think there's a look that really can stop us from running toss. I think we have good answers, unless they just want to put 3 guys outside the tackle and then they're in a bind somewhere else. But we're always looking for the best situation. I like to say it's all about edges and flanks for us. And here's what I mean by that. This is kind of Herschel Moore, Wing T stuff, early 2000s. And I'm going to fly through this so we can make sure we get some things covered. But when we get to the line of scrimmage, I like the idea of some people pull a tackle and they go at a 45, and I've seen different things. Before I get to this, Rocket or Jet, I was a Jet guy before I even knew Rocket existed. Coach Lanier, who's my mentor in the Flexbone many years ago, showed me this toss one summer. Me, him, and Bob Howell got together at McNeese and talked football. And he said, let me put this tape on for you guys and see what you think. And it was like, oh my gosh, what is that? I mean, is it a toss bubble screen? I mean, it was so wide and so fast. I was hooked. I tried to carry Rocket and Jet just because I felt allegiance to Jet, but it didn't take long to realize, to me, Rocket was a better play. Now, some guys carry Rocket and Jet, and there's reasons for both, and I totally respect that. I haven't found that reason to carry both or the need to carry both. I just think this serves a purpose of a D to E to P type play now. But when we get to line of scrimmage, our slot's going to make a 1-2 or bunch call to define the edge for the pullers. The puller's the end man on line of scrimmage for us. Tackle, 3-man surface, tight end. And he counts basically unaccounted for defenders outside, whatever's on our end man on line of scrimmage. Bunch is like a pin and pull concept. 1 or 2 defines the pull call. And if we have more than one receiver out there, it's always a 1 call. Hopefully that'll make sense on film. 1 call usually comes with a 1 safety shell, not 100%. One, it's a little clue to help us a little bit. But in general, we want our low linemen pulling and running with body leverage. Almost want to put their hands in their pockets. If I wasn't worried about them falling down, breaking their nose, I'd make them learn this play with their hands tied behind their backs because they want to get their hands out. And that's gets them top heavy. It gets them holding, gets them handsy. None of the things you want. So here's what a 1 call would look against that black and gold team that Coach Piker was talking about. We played them way too many times and didn't win our share of them, but we got them a couple of times. So when our slot lines up, he is basically not counting what's down or on the tackle. And, you get comfortable during the game if the look doesn't change a whole lot. But unaccounted for defenders outside is what he's counting. And that's a 1 call to both sides there. 2 call usually comes with a 2 safety shell. When we run against a 2 call, it's basically in man on line of scrimmage and the slot are kind of tracking those 2 guys together, almost like a moving zone block. And hopefully I have a good clip of that to show you. The biggest thing on that is don't climb until we know the most dangerous man is leveraged. Both of them, if they both touched the level 1 guy before somebody climbed, I'd probably buy them lunch that day because they got the concept. Instead of 2 climbing and leaving a low guy to kill us, they both understand what's most dangerous. So this is not a great picture, but this is a 3-man surface. You're kind of in a little bit of a screwy formation. We snuck a tackle over, left a guard edge on here, but we're running it on tempo. Actually, I have a clip of this, but our slot right here should be 2 stand-ups outside. He should be saying 2-2-2, and basically these 2 guys are pulling and zoning those 2 guys, our end man on line and our slot. Let's see if we can get this down. Okay. Our flanks are basically what's outside. But what I call a normal flank is a wing and a wide out, ace look or flexbone look. Nub, away from end over. You got a wing and no wide out. Multiple receivers could come in trips empty, split ends over, whatever. And then open would be rare. That's running it without a wing, like away from trips. Somebody lined up really bad with a naked edge because you don't have a slot there. That would have to be a check. We wouldn't just get to that blindly. Real quick, rules and execution for the Rocket. It falls into our, I hate to say gap or zone guys because that's not who we are, but turn back protection, rocket toss, belly G. These are plays that are area block before they're man block. That's how we kind of categorize that scheme. Again, don't block too early till you get a threat to the play. Be late with your hands, gain leverage before you block. Just a few blocking concept there that they already touched on. Again, O-line or in man on the lines, 1 or 2 call. Next man rule is trying to leverage what's on the in man. Again, just a running shield. And if you get to him, don't leave him. Just get vertical and piss him off. Our rest of our linemen are crossing and climbing. It's key to note that the center and the backside guard must cancel the A-gaps before climbing. They cannot escape an A-gap defender or he could hit your quarterback from behind. QB, I think the key coaching point for him is reverse pass 6 with momentum and unlock your hips to the pitch, pass 180. We used to finish boot. I found that quarterbacks would short arm it, and so we finish drop. We do play action off of this. I think I have a clip or 2 of that on our compliments, but I talked to him about a firm, flat front, pitch, and finish with a drop. Fullback, simple, cheat up and run backside. Basically run a boot, run a wheel. I don't go backside and try to hit the 5 technique. My luck, he'd get hurt. So we just set up to something that they kind of get numb to. And then when we do want to screen or boot to him, hopefully he's open. Our slots are key on this play. The play size slot, he's going to make his edge call for the pullers. He's going to what I call fast arc. There's 2 arcs. There's an arc for an option, which is a pace play. This is a fast arc. He's going to capture or kick the most dangerous man to the rocket. It doesn't matter if it's bunch, 1 call, 2 call. The most dangerous man to the pitch is who he's going to end up on almost every time. And he's the best one to block him. And you got to be decisive on that capture kick because his wingman is tracking his outside half, hip, or shoulder, whatever you want to say. The backside slot's got a D motion. We are down. Ready, set, go. So they're leaving on down. We're 4-part cadence. Take the skin off the fullback's heels, flatten out, hold your line. Don't drift forward or back. Catch it, stretch it, circle the defense till you can't. And then once you get vertical inside that block, try to get width because pursuit's coming from the inside. And receivers, basically, we're stalking. We do have a multiple receiver rule, but that's pretty simple. We can look at that on film. All right. All right. I'm not going to show you. I mean, look, guys, don't write a thing down. Anything you want. I mean, this is being taped as well. Coach and them are generous enough to do this, but I'll share this with you if you want it. Shoot me a message, and I'll be glad to send you anything I got. But that 1 call should kind of fold out like that. A 2. Oh, did I get to a 2 call yet? 2 call. Again, those 2 being a 2 call. We want the. I think I somehow deleted my wing, but my wing should be tracking the wide guy, whoever that may be. It's not always the deep guy. Sometimes the low guy is a wide guy. Few strategies for you. We're always looking for numbers, and we're always looking to try to find a 1 call edge. So a tight end versus a 7-man front, for example, 50, 6-1 type look will get them usually a 1 call edge, whereas a 2 call is a little tougher. We like to go on tempo cadence to hide formations, especially for a late lining up tired defense. We use empty, twins, trips, tackle over to try to gain a hat number on you. We'll go bunch against a good edge setter, kind of a pin and pull deal. We'll use a cross tag against a good D end. But we need a 1 call edge probably to use that soundly. We use a sucker tag, what James mentioned, first time we ever ran it. Again, innovation and from desperation, where we zone one way and run the toss the other just to control the box defenders. And then we can make a crack tag if I feel like the leverage is right on the perimeter, and that would be rock or slam. So let's get to some clips. Let's see, Coach. All right. I'm going to thumbnail this. Okay. Everybody can see this? I'm going to assume yes. Okay. So that's kind of what we'll look at here, guys, is regular. From some multiple receiver formations, bunch, and in each tag, I have 1 or 2 that I think will be good for you. So by rule, this is regular toss play clips. And I'll try to define the edge for you. Okay, now you can see right away our quarterback is looking. So I know we're running this on tempo. That's how we trigger a first sound rocket is we eyeball him. And the slot should remind him. So you can look at the defense. They're still getting Mike's still getting a call from the sideline. The other back is looking at the other one, and we're snapping the ball. So they don't have the cleat screwed in real good. This is a 1 call edge, and you can see our tackle just pulls enough to get outside whatever's on him, and he gets an alley. Backer to free. If it's a threat to you, it's a threat to us. And the only thing our slot's doing down here is he's not closing the window. He should be tacking, and our ball carrier is probably taking the early gap a little. It's a good play, but I like to see him stretch it and widen that because we're trying to create perimeter run gaps is all we're trying to do. But that'd be a 1 call. I like what our receivers doing, guys. If you coach receivers, that's not an easy job in this offense. You cannot fly at that guy 100 miles an hour. You got to have pace to you and timing. We don't, Harding says it great on arc block. We don't want you to block him early. We want you to block it when it matters. But that's pretty good look right there. Quarterback's terrible on his fake. And every now and then, guys, I think it's important that whenever you have an end zone cut, am I catching the ball where we want to? Again, we want to catch it outside the other slot. So whatever you need to do to gauge that to make sure your time is good, I think it's important. But I want a quarterback fake and drop. Here's against a team that likes to pop backers. We're an empty. A lot of teams won't even notice that. You see the free safety kick into trips. So we get away from him. Slot still defines the edge, and we're going on tempo. You see tempo probably more than anything. but we're eye trigger. This is a pretty good job on the edge. The slot, again, we're tracking, we're going to capture or kick, and the slot's going to make you right. Tight cut, keep it wide and get vertical. I mean, it's not a home run, but it's a quick 10 yards into the boundary. I might have had my quarterback still booting back then, but he should fake drop. Here's against a good 2-call edge that the defense fits it better than we get to it. But it goes to show you, if the timing is okay, that you're getting the ball in space, almost like a bubble screen. And they got to fit those gaps. But this team fit the outside backer for force, the safety kind of a 2-3 exchange. Our tackle, number 54, the right tackle, should have kept coming flat. I don't want to curse on here, but he was a DA, so I understand that from him. He probably heard 2-call and thinking, what does that mean at this point in the season? But our receiver's getting blown up, but at least he's frontal and gives us a chance. He's softy. But we are able to circle the defense, which is what we want to do. So they fit that play, physical and well, and we still got a nice play out of it. Okay, slot sets. So multiple receivers. Here we're in end over. Now, what we tell our slot, the guy at the top right here, is we tell him, set the edge if you can. Crack or stalk the most dangerous man. If he fires or is unblockable because you're dead man ineligible, then we climb. He works off of him. This is a 1-call edge almost every time. So he felt like he could crack it. Good decision. He got his hat, was outside half, physical, fit, and maintain. Slot works off of him, ends up getting up on the free. And we're not a fast team, guys. I'll be honest with you. We got some little cats there that aren't very big, and they're not blazers. But we're able to circle and turn the corner on them for a nice game against a really, really, really good football team in Louisiana. St. Thomas More is winning just about every year. Let's see if our time is good. Are we catching it outside the other slot? Heck yeah, we're almost to the middle of the St. Thomas More emblem from the hash. That's what you want. Quarterback, good fake there. Toss, momentum frontal. Don't worry about booting, and then bring yourself back to a drive. We'll trick play off of this. We'll play action off of this. This is a great action. Rocket toss is a great action. It's against a bad football team, I'll tell you that, but it's a good look against multiple receivers. Okay, we got a 1-call tight end, number 3 or third man surface. You know, if you get across him if you can, but don't make a bad block. The slot's there to help you clean it up. We got pretty good leverage on the perimeter. Okay, let's look at bunch real quick. So when we're in a bunch, kind of a pin and pull, our slot, what we tell our receiver is you're going to set the edge on the most dangerous man in a 2-point stance that is on, inside, or outside of you. So he's looking at that end. Now, when you go, if he fires, then you look for work on the inside because he's doing us a favor. Don't go chase him if he fires inside because he's taking himself out of the play. And that's what happens here. The guy steps inside. So number 19, that low receiver, he ends up going up to a low safety, I guess you could say, probably a 0 safety there in the red zone. Our slot should make a bunch call, pull, fit the most dangerous man. Our tackle, sometimes our guard is able to get around that short edge and get in the alley and take them like they come. And, you know, you shouldn't have to look far. Pretty good tight cut there by number 34. Nothing stops you. Keep going. This is going to be a better look from the end zone. Guys, sometimes when we go on tempo, you get guys not lined up and they're not sure. They don't recognize. This is a really good football team, Catholic High. I would have never guessed. We don't ever work on an edge that soft. But I tell our slot, you got to have a middle progression, what you're blocking for, on, inside, outside. And if you don't know who that is, that's a good problem to have. Then you can expand and take whoever comes to you. But we're able to turn the corner on them pretty good. Just poor alignment. All right, got a couple of clips of this. So this team, Plaquemine, a very athletic team, we're in the end over, and they gave us, they went a strong safety over, so 8-man front, Rovers over, and the free safety was kicked too. So they had pretty good athletic ends. So we went with a cross tag because I knew we could afford the hats. and it shrunk the edge, and all we had to do was make a block on the outside backer. I didn't know how they were going to line up to this formation. So this was actually an on-the-field adjustment. You can see us looking at it right there. First of all, they changed defense as far as, so we're during the game, we're figuring things out. That's why I like to do. I didn't say this at the beginning, guys. I highly advise having a menu of play systems, ways to get the plays pre-snap. Whether you look over, give the quarterback, your lineman, man, it can really help play calling if you can do that. But there with a little X block, the guards to backer, it's tackles to backer, guard, pull, and get an alley unless the 5-tech tries to cross your face. And then you become like the alley blocker. Don't wait on anybody. And I mean, I'm always looking for the path of least resistance. And certainly that's the case. Here we did this to a tight end surface. This against an even better football team, John Curtis. The 50 defense, they were squeezing a down block, outside veer G, whatever. So we kind of use that against them. Now, tight end got us in a one-call edge because otherwise they'd be two safeties and tough to turn the corner. So we went one split tight end over with an X block, and it gave us a one-call edge. The slot, he's soft. You got to open and then go close the gap on his outside shoulder. But we are able to get outside the box against a really good team that otherwise wasn't going to happen. The tackle does a good job here. You don't wait on anybody. You become the alley blocker. So the formation created a one-call edge. The scheme helped us get to the edge. All right, what Coach Piker mentioned, sucker scheme is what I call it, is now they've lined up bad here, but I want to show you what it does to the backers. This team had really good linebackers. One of them went to LSU, but one of the few times maybe the first year we ran this. Not coaching, I'm drawing on a lot of past film, so bear with me. But watch what this does to the backers. So we're running toss left, but our linemen are going zone right. Now our play side tackle, the left tackle, number 63, depending on the call, will determine what he does. Our slot right here is probably looking for a 2 call, but 22 is kind of tucked in the box. He should call 1, which would allow 63 just to go up to backer. But let's see what happens. But watch what the linebackers do, 35 and 30. Even though we're going motion that way, the zone kind of makes them sit. Okay? They're getting conflicting reads, motion one way and zone the other. If those two guys took off on a snap, they'd probably catch us with their speed, Southern Lab. Here's the play coach is talking about. I always keep this as a reminder of desperation times because first time we ever ran it, one call, our tackle should go B gap to backer to free, but you got a B gap threat, so he's got to take that. Now, you don't have a hat for the free here, but your box is cleaned up, and you do have a chance to make the guy miss because it's an open field play. And so, you know, we're trying to find yards against this team. Dylan Moses, number 6. The other linebacker was a good FCS backer and just a bunch of good, well-coached football players. Give them a lot of credit. There was no free yards given by these guys. Okay, when we want to crack from original alignment and not be in bunch, I have to tag that, but usually confirm the look. So we're an empty to the field, or to the left, rather, to the boundary. And we're going with a rock tag down here, which tells our receiver to crack that edge guy, which is an 8-man front rover, and our slot's going to pull and replace. So we're an empty with strength away, and we're rocking over here. So a lot of things going on, kind of tricking up the play, but giving us a chance. Like I said, number 6 started at Bama for about 2.5, 3 years. I guess he's in the NFL somewhere. He's a pretty good player. I got tired looking at him. Here it is to the boundary. We love it to the boundary. 8-man front rover, 5-1 defense. Get on that up for now. You got to be careful with that block these days. You can't be too physical. I would tell receivers today, everything turns into a physical stalk. Fit him with your hands first. But the slot does a good job replacing the corner and then make the block right. You can see, let's see what our in-man line of scrimmage is doing. Tackle, keep working the free. I love what our guard's doing, number 70. Number 70 is doing what I want him to do. He is giving ground to gain ground, and he is running, and he is not using his hands until he can get leverage. And even then he won't. But he's doing just enough to keep that guy from making a play. He got a little enough on him. That's beautiful for something so simple. And here's a few tempo clips of either different formations, us being really fast. Here's that tackle over clip. Defense doesn't even recognize. We got a guard edge on the backside. We get set, eye trigger. The slot's going to remind the quarterback. Two call. Down here is a good example of a two call pull. Those two, by your third or fifth step, your tight end should know who he's going to get. Boom, boom. Be a little more physical on the outside, but not bad, not bad. When I see us doing those things, I can tell we're taking coaching. Keep running. And the slot's got to make the play right. Don't take the early bait. Here we're in the empty against a team that like the mug backers. We're trips empty. We run a toss this way. You can see our quarterback check the feet of everybody. Eye trigger. Slot probably left before he saw the eyes. He's a little anxious. Press that outside shoulder, that lead blocker. Tight cut when you have to. Now from there, be a running back. I don't like them to cut back, but I don't micromanage them either if they get to open field like that. You can see those backers, they're done. I mean, somebody wants to bluff and bring backers a lot. We will do this to you until you get tired of it. And here's another tempo where we're in tackle over against a team that like to do stuff early in the possession. Now, I don't like our tackle, our tight end here. He's too handsy. That's a one call. You are to pull. And I understand he's standing up. When I tell him when you have a stand-up one call, you're expecting to hang on him a lot longer, if not the whole time. But don't turn it into an outside zone block. We're not built to do that. We don't work that block. That's going to be a holding call more than it's not. Great job by the slot. We can't cut block, but we sure as hell knock you down. Be physical. There you go. Love it. Love it. One of my favorite football players all time. He's 34 there, but the senior year he has to be number 90 playing tie back. So tells you a lot about him. He liked being different. Okay. I'm gonna jump right in unless there's questions or anybody won't say anything, or if it's time for me to shut up. I'm gonna jump right.
There was one question. I don't know if you saw it, but
Let's see.
they asked, "What are you telling playside tackle with 3-man surface?"
Okay, great question. The play side tackle with a man outside of him, whether it's tight end or tackle over, he becomes the next man inside. The next man inside rule is simply you pull to leverage whatever is on the end man. And if you actually gain leverage on that guy, turn up and don't come off. Just kind of turn up and hang on him with your shoulder. We found that unless he just crosses your face altogether, that if you bypass him, he might be wide enough to come off, really an athletic one, might be wide enough to come off your butt and make a play. So that he becomes like the guard in an open surface. You're the next man inside rule is what we call that. I should be a little more creative with my terms, but that's who the tackle becomes. Good question. All right. Anybody else? All right, guys. I have a mix of a few plays here that are just rocket compliments, just kind of a hodgepodge group of the plays that I put together that over the years come off a rocket motion. And because some of them are gap and zone in nature, like the rocket, they can also be tempo type plays. So without getting into specific rules, these are plays you're familiar with. We'll run a counter ISO, a little fullback ISO, belly G, a little counter sweep that Coach Piker mentioned. I love counter option off of this. Honestly, I don't have a good clip of it available. You've seen Navy and some of the teams fake rocket, pivot back, pitch off the end man with a fullback arcing. I love that play. We'll boot, we'll screen off of it, we'll play action, and then we run specials off of it. So it really is a play that has a lot of versatility. And it's not fancy. I mean, not to knock youth league coaches by any means. Some of these are youth league type plays, but the rocket action is creates a good complement potential. So we're going rocket toss, and because the fullback goes backside, it just sets up well for a little counter ISO to the backside. We love veer counter ISO. This is rocket counter ISO. In the red zone, we should have scored, but we go big on big. Fullback searches out the backer. We're in bunch. Slot has perimeter bunch rules that he should follow for inside run. He's wrong, but our fullback makes him right. So what should happen here? Our receiver, we don't want him blocking on a linebacker unless we run the toss. he should be going to the safety or corner most dangerous. And our fullback should search out that 6'1" backer that the receiver is wrongly blocking. But he sees he's wrong, he makes him right by getting to the safety. And again, we should have scored. Got the mic, got the down tech, backside backer. Here it is again, fake count, fake rocket. Again, if they're chasing this motion, like the guys at Harding played in the national championship, if they're chasing this motion, this kind of play can really hurt them. Back away from it, like Harding uses mid triple with fly motion. This is a version of something like that, going away from motion. It's easier with ISO to get a hat on a hat. It's a 50 front, no, it's a 5-1 front, a bear front. And we're able to ISO that 5-3 backer, if you will. We did get a holding penalty on that or something. Very, very simple play concept, nothing fancy. Here's a little fullback belly, G, ISO, whatever, kind of wing T. If it's the A-gap defender, we go big on big. Slot folds for backer. But you can see 20s in conflict. There's that black and gold team again that we hated playing. Coach Piker's alma mater and Coach Stab, but it's just a strong action, man. And of course, quick hitting just adds to it. If you got up to the line and just ran fullback ISO without any eye candy, these backers might just, eat everybody. But the motion kind of helps it out, especially takes those edge guys, those hanging hole players from falling in on you. Again, guys, mostly this is against good football teams. So, easy play, any plays work against weak, trashy teams. Here's belly G, guys. I'm gonna tell you, we're not a great belly G team. I only mess with it to a 3-man surface, but when we do run it to a 3-man surface, and we like to have rocket motion. So it has a fit for us. It's a gap play, so it's a good tempo play. If we run toss on tempo a few times against you, there's a good chance that if the edge is right, that G might be coming with the same look. And that's a really good football team that we had to play against sometimes. Here it is again. We're in that tackle overset. We got a naked edge to the backside guard, a guard surface only, kind of funky. But toss and G, we're not worried about getting run down from backside. Again, we're not a great G team. Nothing like Harding with the question mark pull and all that. We do try to pull like them, but we just don't execute that well. Our tight ends kind of working through a 7-tech should be maintaining that block. But the action of the play, the quick hittingness, a lot of things about the Flexbone make some of the plays successful. Here's a little counter sweep that Coach Piker mentioned. I called it Exxon just because it's an X block. We got this team like to go corners over to our end over. So we end up with a 1-man edge surface down here, and we just look for ways to attack it that were not an option. And so we X block it. We let the fullback search out that outside player. And, we just fall off blocks late, but the play is getting us to the good grass, as they say, where we want to be. All right, little passing game, little boot action, fake toss. This is nothing fancy. Our passing game is simple, guys, but the ability to throw because of the commitment to stopping the run is what helps everybody in the Flexbone. 3-man, 3-level route. We're going corner from bunch. We do want to get the fullback out, but sometimes if he's a threat, he'll stay and we'll lose him. And our quarterback will be a run threat. And a lot of times the drag is going to be the last look. And that's what we end up banging right there. Good job by the quarterback. So we'll tempo off of this because it's turn back protection. I would like our left tackle not to escape this 48 in. Like he's got the B gap threat, no doubt. But if it's not pre-snap threatened, I learned that from Coach Lee. Let's get a little something on him and slow him down. We don't like nakeds. Even if we do let the fullback release in the flat, he's going to friction and take the edge off of that 5-tech or whatever's there. Here's a little boot off a bunch. Again, same thing. We'll sometimes get the backside slot to come across into the flats. We call that a sneak route. Quarterback's going to read it high to low, especially if we have a sneak route because he doesn't get there that early. Sneak a peek. By that point, he knows if the flat's there, if he can run it, and then your drag is always going to be your last look. That's not how we want to run the drag. We want to get across fast, but if the corner route has leverage, we'll take it. If you can see, from the side view, you can tell that we're in that guard overset, a tackle overset. we felt like, and we practiced this against our own front defense, that even though we're man short because of the boot action, we weren't worried about getting run down from the backside. So it gave us an extra man on the front side of protection, just an extra gap to expand that edge to help our boot. I think it's the last boot. We're in trips. We will run bunch to this, bunch toss, and we'll let our slot, or excuse me, our receiver that's in bunch, set the edge on the most dangerous man and try to get the tackle onto number 14 or whatever's out there. And so to complement that, we'll boot off of it. And when we boot to twins, I usually like to go just a simple smash. So you get a 3-level route again, a low, a high, and then the drag is coming last. Quarterback simple read, and I'm able to max protect with the fullback when we do this. Read the corner as soon as you come out. High, low, to drag, to run. Keep it simple. And here's a little play that I didn't run enough. Again, it was against a good football team, so you're looking for something off of something you do that's not a new play or new scheme. So we booted many times, and I felt like nobody paid attention to the backside slot. And so we screened off of it. We are a slow screen team, not great, but when we do it, hopefully we're doing it in a way that is friendly and we have friendly numbers. And sometimes moving the guy off his spot. I like to see the quarterback boot a little bit more, but he gets a little anxious first time ran in the game. And so we're going toss, boot, screen. And we kind of just go, how we say that, trap with the tackle, seal with the guard, and peel with the center. As far as our screen pull. Got a decent end zone shot of this. And it kind of tied into our protection off a boot because we'll turn back protect. So it kind of took the lineman straight where they want to go. Again, I thought the quarterback rushed it a little bit. Now here's some pocket protection that we'll do. And this is where some of our home runs come from. This action right here, look at the defense. This is an athletic team, but not a great team. Look at all those forward stances, the free, the rover, the corner. If they're not committed to stopping that toss, they may not see another play. I mean, quarterback can throw it to who he wants. Boom, 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 take your pick. So y'all know in the Flexbone, you get those shots a lot. It's just, will you do them enough and will you do them on rundowns? Here's more of a control passing deal where we have a shot with the slot, but we also have a curl flat on the outside because our slot's swinging. And I'm big on protection, guys. We're not going to be naked and void on protection. We're going to be sound. We may get beat on protection, but we're not. I'm going to make sure that we don't have unblocked hats to the best of my ability. I got to be able to look that 16-year-old in the eye the next morning. So quarterback doesn't have the shot. He's going to go curl flat. Nobody covers this guy in the flats. So he dumps him off to him late. A 20-plus yard gain when it may not have been your first look. Here's one, again, same black and gold team, just a nemesis. A little nub route. We got a little, basically a seam wheel with the two tiebacks. Our end overset at the top is ineligible, but we felt like they were in a man free and maybe we can get one of them bumped off, and that's what we did. So attacking the nub. So going back, play calling progression, all offenses are looking for a few things: numbers, matchups, unoccupied grass, and how you get there it varies certainly from the Flexbone, but you can still attack those places within the flavor of this offense. You just gotta have a little imagination sometimes. Simple little throwback off of front side play action. Again, boundary comeback is one of my favorite third and long, second and long plays. Here's 3rd and 11. We're not a great passing team with this team, but boundary corner is going to give you a little cushion, 3rd and long, and get him on time. It's hard to stop. I love that. Very, very simple. Protection sound, the action of toss to the field. Sometimes after a season. And we'll quick screen off a toss. Got this from Paul Johnson when he was at Georgia Tech. With the motion away, sometimes you get rotation, sometimes you don't. It's just throwing a one-on-one now screen away from it, especially if you have cushion and you have a decent matchup. Very simple, nothing earth-shattering. Everybody probably does that. We'll freeze sometimes just to make sure the look and the cushion and the leverage is what we want. Quarterback, we simple quick trigger, 1-2 bang, give a chance. So, all right. Well, guys, look, I've gotten to a good stopping point, and if we're ready to shut down, that's fine. I do have some connector play clips, but I can save those for another time, and want to respect everybody's time. And it's already 10:05, so I'm a deflect here to Coach Piker.
It's really up to you. If you're ready to go to bed or anything like that, feel free.
Not at all.
We'll have you back on, but if you feel like it, let's keep this thing rolling. I'm interested
Okay.
to see the connectors, and again,
Yes.
we're recording all this, so we'll have it posted on the internet, and hopefully be able to let everybody know either tomorrow or Friday where it's going to be. But I say we keep it going. I don't know about you, Coach. It's up to you.
Coach, I am good. And look, like I said, I wanted to be respectful of everybody and not just uh, run my mouth here, but we'll definitely roll with it. Did I pause the screen share? Can you see that?
I can see the screen share still, but
It
it
says
doesn't look like anything's
connector play
moving.
clips.
No, it still says the rocket toss compliment plays.
Okay. Let's see, new share. Okay. How about now? Oh, it's saying, let's see. Let me stop sharing and do a new one. Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. All right, guys. Hey, look, this won't take long at all because I'm not really going to go through any major PowerPoint slides. I do want to hit on a couple of them real quick. So when Coach Piker asked me to speak, I told him, I said, man, it'd be my pleasure, be honored. That the last few times I've been blessed to speak on something, I've kind of talked on fringe things on the fringe, and Rocket is a core play for me. If I didn't say that, that's one of my big five. So that's not really fringe, even though it's not the meat and potatoes of the mids and the veers. But connectors are, and as I mentioned, it's a different play grouping for me. It is kind of my pet plays, but they do have a place. Again, I'm an old ex-quarterback, so um, certain plays appeal to me, and I think they have a purpose where some guys would say, not no, but heck no. And I work for some. Coach Lanier would probably look at me and say, boy, what are you running? But I have found a purpose for them, and they have come in handy in huge places. So other things I've talked about, 2-minute offense, tempo, how it fits in the Flexbone. But connector plays to me are what I call tweener plays. They're plays that connect the run game and passing game with elements of both. I've found that they're very, very good in hurry up offense or in the red zone, and they hit the defense differently. And they're really not looking for them. They're a little creative and unique, and you got to be creative with terminology. So players don't feel like it's something really brand new. Draws, shovels, quarterback dash, a little, believe it or not, RPO, pop pass, and pre-snap quick screens. But draws, I'm not going to read. Like I said, I would send all this to you. I'll, shovel passes, we know what they are. Quarterback dash comes off of our sprint game, which we do a lot. And I'll talk about our little pop pass RPO, which again was another act of desperation. And then our perimeter quick screen. So I'd rather just jump into the video, guys, if y'all don't mind. And look at these in action and talk them through instead of on paper. So I'm assuming everybody can see the screen now, connector play clips. And I'll tell you what part of our offense they pretty much connect to. So I love three-step passing game. We don't do it a ton, but I'm always, so if I lined up in trips right here, I'm looking at a lot of things. Where's the option game? Where do I have a three-step game? Do I have a perimeter screen? Do I have an inside run? Is there a home run shot? What's the spread out? So I'm looking at all the flanks and edges and bubbles and numbers I can to call plays. Sometimes at the line of scrimmage. But one of them I'm looking at a trip, especially is three-step game. But I'm also looking for a good edge for quarterback draw. And so off a three-step, that's what we would look at. Draw comes straight off of that. We're big on big, or Bob man, as I call it, and we'll let the fullback search the backer. So I call this quarterback draw off a freeze to the single side of trips because they're in the 50. So we should fan out. Fullback's going to search backer. and we got a hat for a hat on the backside. We can fold that, or we can tandem block that with the guard and tackle. And the slot's really got that backside edge. I tell him, if you get man eyes, then run him and don't have to block a bigger guy. That's I'm telling you, this comes directly off a 3-step. Here's one where we're trips tight, and I got a buzzsaw at quarterback. I mean, he's lightning in a bottle. And we're running with a little eye candy, just a little false motion away. And I knew we could spare it because they went man for man on the outside. So we're big on big, fly motion. Fullback's got the backer who blitzes. It turns into a quarterback delay ISO. And once he pops the line of scrimmage, they're soft because it looks like pass to him. And, from here, catch him if you can. So these are just
best
simple.
and scariest Flexbone quarterback I've ever seen in my entire life. Reggie Hayes right there. I'll tell you what, coach. Sorry, I just had to interject. It's giving me a PTSD right now, flashbacks. So,
well, he made me a better coach than I am, because once he got in the green grass, he can make it happen. Sprint draw is I love sprint out, old school turn back. Been doing it 100 years. I set the edge with number 3, and usually run 2-man routes, and my quarterback's a run threat. Very simple. I learned this many years ago from TCU when LaDainian Tomlinson was there. They killed people. The coach there went to Alabama, and they killed LSU one night with what they call the smoke draws, turn back draw. Take the gap or climb the backer. It's have somebody set the C gap, which is my slot. I used to run this play with my slots, but I got to where I thought it was a better fit for the fullback when I had better athletes at fullback, and my slot becomes the C gap, almost like an extra point protector. And it's a gap block play all the way. We can run it off a tempo. It can hit anywhere. It's too simple. It's a great complement to sprint out. So it's a running game play that looks like a pass, and sometimes you get people running, and it's just, like I said, great third down plays. Here it is again to the left. You can see my slide at the top. He really shouldn't be knocking the tackle down. He should be fitting right there. I don't know what he's going through, but fullback just takes 3 steps, sets up. We slip it to him. We try to hold the edge guy with the quarterback's fake. Like I said, this thing can hit anywhere. I tell them run near to far. Run right in front of you to back door. Sometimes it even bounces. So I guess it's kind of like an inside zone, what they tell their guys. Bend, bounce, whatever the little acronym is. Now, I'm going to rewind this. To run it to my slots and keep them available on it, because I love the scheme, we started running this off of triple option action. Makes no sense other than it works more times than not. So we'll tag this to where we run off a triple option action with that turn back block, and the fullback's now the edge setter or the C gap kicker, and the slot someone gets the ball. He just gets lost. It kind of looks like the Sally play for wing T teams, but it's not blocked the same. That would be a new scheme for us. So we hinge, set the gap, kind of have slow screen timing in your mind, ensure your gap, look for a cross facer, a blitzer, and then climb to the nearest backer. And sometimes there's an unblocked backer that searches his way back in the box, but sometimes they run out of there because of the flow of the sprint out, flow of the triple. Here's one where we kind of took the mix of 2 philosophies. It's a sprint draw, but we wanted to run the quarterback draw blocking back to the left. So it's kind of an ISO draw. We didn't like where we were getting out of sprint draw with this group, so we went more man on man. And the fullback counter stepped, and then he came back door. Kind of a little tap, 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 back door. Now, our tackle, is that our tackle or our guard? Our guard shouldn't be coming off. You'll find that some of these little connector plays, draws, and shovels, the timing of them is a lot slower than maybe a normal isolation. So we do need to slow them down. We tell them, hey, match the aggressiveness of the defender, but anchor down, because it's going to be a fairly long block. So left guard here, who really only had 1 speed, which was full. I loved him, but that's a long block to not get shed like that. But that's a little whirly bird draw that, again, just a mix of 2 existing schemes, so it wasn't a new deal. Shovel passes might be one of my favorite play categories. This play has probably gotten more questions asked than anything we've ever run, even triple option. A little shovel out of the back door. It looks like a reverse. Again, it's a slow ISO to the right. Watch our lineman. It's against a 3-3 look. Anthony Camp's the defensive coordinator. If you know Anthony, throw a little jab at him. Hell of a coach. Played for us at Parkview. Our fullback starts front side, comes backside, sprint out action. Look at the defense. They're selling sprint out, dropping the covers, and then we just kick it to the slot coming out the back door. You're going to look at this. I've got about 10 clips of this play, and you're going to say, Coach, why didn't you run it more? Because you take it to the house every time. There was times we didn't, but it was usually something we did wrong. The action of the play was really good. Sorry about that. Some of these clips just are not rewound to the beginning. My bad. So here's the same play. Run out trips to the slot receiver. Usually put your best guy there, or a guy that can do something with the ball. You see the fullback. He really should go to that outside backer blitzing, but I tell him forget the fake if the backer's blitzing. But he does get a chip on him and at least get underneath it. But once that comes out the back door, usually there's a lot of grass over there. And I guess I can justify it in my Flexbone mind so they don't kick me out of Flexbone, say, hey, it's an option pitch. And you know, for the I guess the air raid guys, that's passing yardage, right? So there's our flip pitch that counts on the passing yardage. So Coach Rulo, add that to your talk with your dads as far as what's a passing play. You get some cheap yardage. Here's one I just put in to get it to the slot or a tie back because they were better players than our receivers this year. So we just made a tag to where it was solid on the backside, which is man. And we just got more depth and soft toss it to the A-back coming out the back door. Like I said, these are kind of tough down calls. That's what they've turned into for me. I'm sorry I don't have a great starting point for you on this. Not every week plays, and certainly not a ton of plays. This is a great example of these kind of plays. We're playing a team, I'm telling you, they must have had 10 shutouts in 13 games. De La Salle, we never played them. We came across them in the semifinals this year. I didn't think we'd get a first down. The option was tough for them. They set in a 4-3 until they just couldn't stop us because they just weren't used to it. So he's looking reasons to run the Flexbone. This team, every spread team they saw, I'm telling you, they slammed them 10 ways to Sunday. I mean, they just, and I'm thinking, my gosh, we're not going to get back to the line of scrimmage. They had a lot of FCS type players and just very athletic and very, very experienced. This was later in the game. We got a tough third down call. They had got us behind the sticks. I want to say, look, down here at the bottom, 3rd and 10. I did not want to give them the football back. It's like, okay, they're sitting in that 4-3. This draws up really nice. This little shovel out the back door. I mean, of all the things they were ready for, they weren't ready for a little 15-yard backdoor shovel. So it was handy. I'll say that. And it just draws up easy. I mean, hat on a hat, big on a big. You ain't gonna knock him off the ball. You don't have to execute triple option. Fullback, that backside backer, he thinks it's pass. He's dropping the coverage. So our fullback, he ought to be a little slower to him. He's making life hard on himself. So quarterback dash is just what it says. It is a called run off a sprint out. We usually get an overload set. I think I have a good end zone of this. And because people are either man running off with our routes and we have a good edge set. And like I said, when you got a little buzzsaw at quarterback, we'll turn in. So we like to go overload. And I really like to go overload with a tackle and then leave the nub tight end so they think he's, going to do something. But we'll set the edge and basically block turnback. But we tell our guys, this is draw, this is dash, not draw. So we're getting outside. If your gap's not threatened, climb fast. Get up on a hat because we're not coming back inside like draw where they're going to be a little slower. We still have an edge setter with our tie back and a fullback looking for anything. If we get man, we'll crack it with the inside receiver and get 2 for 1. And then the fullback's looking for work. That wide out at the top that's trying to stalk block, he should be running off in the end zone. Excuse me. Here's a pretty good edge with it. Set the edge, take your gaps, tie back, set the gap. Now, turn back protection, it's one of our 2 main protections. Our tie back could never block anybody's decent defensive ends. I mean, they're going to be outgained by 50 pounds to begin with. But to set them in the C gap and bait them inside and then close the door on them is not that hard. And then the fullback. Again, I don't like our receivers stalking there. I'd rather him go inside. If it's man, he can run him off or try to get 2 for 1. But if I tell him our fullback should be able to make it outside, but sometimes they're not sure. So if they do end up stalking him, it's not always the worst thing in the world. Quarterback, when you do this, come out a little bit more shallow. Let your body sail past as long as you can with how you carry the football. Keep your eyes up, that ball working across your chest until you have to commit and tuck and run. Now, y'all gonna think I'm lying, and I apologize for saying RPO on this talk, but this is exactly what this is. Desperation. Guys playing a team that we had no business being on the field with. They whipped us in the finals, but plays like this kept us in it and gave us a slugger's chance. Is we are actually, and I don't like it to our left, but we're actually running a dive where we're reading the backer and popping the tie back. And it's a pre-snap RPO because if the safety is not in position to allow us to do this, we'll get out of it. And then post-snap is reading the backer. And if the backer were to drop and just not step up, we should hand it off. And we repped it all week 90% to the right. And the time that it was needed to run this, we were on the right hash and ran into our quarterback's left. So, but we did work it, and he gets his feet right. It doesn't look great, but he should pop him before he gets 8 yards. And then by then, he just becomes a football player and makes a kid miss. So this is a pop pass. It's really what it is. You know, Bob Howell, who James and I both know in the Flexbone world, he worked for him, and I did one time, is something a lot of Flexbone coaches used to try to call that pop, but calling it and being wrong doesn't give you a way out. So the more I labored over this play is like, you know, at least I'm giving our kids a chance by reading our way out, which is what they're used to doing. So he is actually reading that backer right there. I tell him if he's forward, pull and pop. It's just I put him in a tough spot having to do it to his left. We did it to Lutcher in a big game one night. We game winning drive right here. Again, it's a pre-snap RPO. Where's the free? Post-snap, read the backer. This quarterback probably made up his mind, but he knew the backer was snug, almost in the A-gap, and he could probably pop him. But if we just call it pop pass, that backer number 3 might blow up underneath it and tip it to the free safety picket. But that was a huge play in that game to get us in scoring zone, end up winning by 1. And just like the quick screen on the Rocket, quick screen, I kind of put this in our connectors because pre-snap, we're tying a run to this. And a lot of times we'll go on freeze where our quarterback's making decisions on perimeter. If we don't have leverage, if we don't have cushion, he has a run he's going to check to. If we have what we want, he'll call the side he wants it to. He'll 1-2 trigger and, you know, 6-7 yards in the passing game. And then sometimes like this, sometimes like this, it's a pre-snap decision that I can put on the quarterback or myself. We're an end over. And I might tell him to look over with a wide open menu, not have any idea what I'm going to do right here. But we got quick screen numbers. We got 2 for 2, +1 with the ball. He's smart. He keeps the ball in outer third. And like I said, for not a great passing team by any means or a perimeter screen team, that is easy yardage. So we're all looking for those numbers, angles, grass, unoccupied grass, space, conflict defenders, all that good stuff. Sometimes we'll just do it from alignment right here without motion. Very easy. So all this kind of goes into our connector game. Here's a case we lined up in trips. We got a single side void area. So we motion him across, predicting them not to go with us, which because they weren't chasing motion. And we got 2 for 1 to the single side in a really quick and easy way. So I like to keep all those things available, and we'll bubble a little bit to number 2. It's not as easy from under center, but it's everything we do. So our footwork. So we can quick screen to 1, we can quick screen to 2, we can even quick screen to 3, depending on where the leverage is. And you know, it's 1-on-1, 2-on-2 blocking on the perimeter. We don't overcomplicate it. There's a really good football team on defense here. Again, looking for ways to get yards when your base stuff is tough. We just run a little, basically a twirl screen to number 3. And, you know, he gets a good play for us. So guys, that's it. Like I said, connectors are nothing fancy. I don't know if they can stand alone, but they've been a great little compliment for me. And I found that they're a fit, especially in tough situations. So I'm glad y'all let me get through that.
Coach, my favorite is I know you keep talking about not being a great passing team, but one day you're gonna have to tell everybody about the now bounce pass that y'all threw in the dome that day. And I swore there was no way that was on purpose. And then Semino ran it one day in practice when we were at Catholic Point Capee, and I was like, "Are you seriously? That was real." So some good stuff,
I'm,
Coach.
I'm, a, I'm gonna keep that one a secret, but I'm gonna thank everybody real quick, Coach, and then you can close it out, guys. Those of you that have stayed the whole time, I appreciate it. Anything you want, reach out to me. What's mine is yours, and I can't thank Coach Gage and Coach Piker enough for getting a bunch of Flexbone together at one time, multiple times. Tremendous effort on their part, and I'm sure y'all going to benefit. I appreciate Tim's talk earlier. The culture stuff should not go overlooked just because it's not plays. Because I'm telling you, if you don't establish and be proactive about why you're in this offense and why you believe in it, and stay on top of how it can help a team win, turn a program around, reach out to guys that's done it, and continue to do it. Like I said, Coach Hunkins on the Telegram chat this year, he turned the program around in California. It's all around you. So you got to tap into those things because their critics are alive and well, and they're not quiet about it. So just be ready for those battles and be able to defend them. So appreciate y'all's time and great to be a part of this.
Well, Coach, you about wrapped it up as well as I possibly could. So, guys, just again, I want to thank Coach Dieterich and Coach Rulo for being a part of this tonight. Really can't thank them enough, and tell them how much appreciate them being a part of it. Tonight was or is, exactly what we're trying to do with this clinic. Open forum, let them share their knowledge and everything like that, and open it up to questions and things like that. But guys, another great night at the clinic. Again, a couple things, reminders for next week. Again, we won't meet, I guess, next week. We won't have the clinic on Wednesday. Go take your ladies, significant others, whoever it may be, out to a nice steak dinner or something like that. Enjoy the night. Make sure that you let the people that you love know you love them, and give them a big hug, and use the holiday the right way. So take the time off. But we are going to post the videos, actually working on it right now. Hopefully be able to make an announcement tomorrow or at the latest on Friday about where y'all can go access that. We'll probably release each week's videos probably a week at a time, with a little bit of a delay. And then again, last little shameless plug. We're gonna have between 2 and 3 spots open on the offensive side of the ball. Coaching anything from running backs to wide receivers to possibly even quarterbacks and fullbacks. But what we really want are guys that, like Coach Rulo talked about, that common language, in the office. That I when Coach Rulo said that, I literally texted Coach Gage and said that's exactly what we're looking for here at Alvin. So a bunch of guys that are enthusiastic, that are willing to go toe to toe for this offense, and convey that in the office, and then also convey that to the critics, like Coach Dieterich and Coach Rulo talked about. So if you're interested, please feel free to reach out to me. My email address is just jpiker@alvinisd.net, or shoot me a text, probably the best way to go about it. And my phone number is 225-202-7660. So that's right, repping the 225, Coach Dieterich, always and forever. But Coach, that was awesome. It was a little blast from the past on some of those clips. So
No doubt.
we're I'm done. My little bit's done tonight. And again, thank Coach Dieterich, Coach Rulo. If you have the opportunity, I know Coach Dieterich, that sprint out draw, to me, that was always kind of your specialty. I was scared to death of that play, especially as a D-line coach. I was like, that's going to get me fired. So, but if y'all have the opportunity, please reach out to those two guys. I've said it before, but 2 of the best in the business. and I really cannot overstate how much we appreciate having them on tonight. So thank y'all so much. Y'all too, and then everybody else that's presented so far and will present. Y'all have really made this clinic possible. We just opened up a Zoom a room, and y'all are the ones doing the heavy lifting. So thank y'all so much. And again, let's keep talking. And other than next Wednesday, because it's Valentine's Day, but let's keep making Wednesday the best night of the week. Talking some Flexbone triple option football. So thank y'all, and y'all get some rest. Have a good night. Appreciate y'all.
Good night, guys.